Well, hey everybody, it's a Saturday night. It's cold, blustery, and we're getting snow up where I live. It's kind of freaking awesome. Winter is here. My favorite time of the year. I could be lazy with reason. Can't beat that. Oh, this is for, who said this? Oh, one of the richest men in history, a man named Carnegie. I just want to, this isn't Idaho4 related, but I just wanted to say this for those of you, especially Cletus and others that know me, where I work 2 hours a day. One of the richest men in the world never worked more than 2 hours a day. And he said anybody that works more than 2 hours a day is nuts. And his name was Carnegie. So I heard that today. It's funny. I forget what I was watching. But anyway, I was watching something and that came up. And the other guy there, the Rockefeller, he lost all his hair, his eyebrows, his eyelashes, his head, facial hair, his body hair from stress. And I think that's what prompted Carnegie to make that reply that he found it unsavory to have to work more than 2 hours a day. And he is, one of the richest men, was one of the richest men in the world. But anyway, I wanted to come out here and, I'm just watching it, seeing some different streams come on with Idaho4. And I'm definitely looking to see if people that are in the audience that want to call it, want to just click on StreamYard and come in. And people that follow I haven't followed it closely lately, but people that have been, if they've got from these filings from Ann and from the filings from the court and the rulings of the court, if there's information that I'm missing that would help me change my perspective on the view that the information that the police is providing is unverifiable. It can't be proven because it does nothing but provide exculpatory evidence to the defendant that the entire probable cause affidavit is a joke, and on its face, it should the case should be ended. I mean, that's kind of where I stand with this. It's got nothing to do with whether Kohlberger did it or not, but you're accusing a guy having a good time. You're not accusing the guy of murder when you read that probable cause affidavit. There is no evidence to point to Brian Kohlberger. Zero. That's the worst part. There's nothing in there that points to Kohlberger's connection to the crime. And that's my understanding thus far for almost 2 years. It was my understanding when I first read that document. It's been my understanding and the point that I've been trying to emphasize throughout this whole procedure. I don't care what people think or what people want to believe or people want to dream up. Show me in that particular probable cause affidavit that there's actually a connection to Kohlberger that rises to the level of him being arrested and losing his freedom. That's the aspect that's always kind of driven me crazy. So what's going on? We have Carl in here. Carl comes in quite often. I think Carl's proud of his blue check, his blue wrench. What up, Cali Cat? I see a few of you. Looks telling me I got 24 of you in here. I should check Twitter. I'm sorry. X. I don't have that tab opened. I did find, and I do want to say, I got some people over here at Twitter. You're all. I'm going to put in the chat room. I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's a thing called StreamYard. Click in. It'll bring you to the studio, bring you to the show. You can come in and voice your opinions on anything you want. It doesn't have to be Idaho4, but I kind of wanted to cover this because I did stumble into one person I see in the audience a lot. And that person's name, I want to give a link to her stream copy, is the Heather Fitzgerald. I've seen her she put up a channel. Carl loves his wrench. He's Mr. Big Deal in here. But that's a link to Heather Fitzgerald's page on YouTube. And it's different. I really, really like what she's doing in there. She's putting out a whole bunch of different information. And rather than being a host that converses with you, at least from the few videos that I've seen, she posts questions and analysis on the screen and, in English. And it's kind of neat. And I did want to show something that I think is pretty revealing. See if I can do a present here. Share screen. Share. Yeah, her style is pretty cool. Good morning, Mark and Betty from the UK. What up? But I do want to show this. Let me make sure I got the volume up on her screen. And what I want you to pay attention to, I'm gonna go back and forth with this. Might drive you a little nuts because it's quite revealing what it shows here. Let me see. Can I go bigger? Let's see how it shows on YouTube. How does it show there? Kind of. All right, so let me go full screen with her stuff and see how it shows up on my screen. No different, I don't think. Pardon me. But what I want you to notice in this particular video, let me let it roll through and I'll talk my way through it. Watch this video.
Because of this. And that's maybe why police should be looking towards other...
See the staircase? That's the staircase that leads to the third floor. The area that this young woman is walking from is the kitchen. And that's Dylan. Watch this.
Women who see...
Stop. Do you see where her shoulder and her head are in relation to the staircase behind her? She's standing on the level of the kitchen in Dylan's bedroom. And I thought this to be pretty interesting. So what you're seeing here is Dylan on the same level as, Dylan on the same level as, is that Dylan? I don't know who that is in the picture. Come on, correct me. Is that even Dylan in the picture? It looks like maybe that's Xana. Maybe that is Dylan. I thought Dylan was blonde haired. But here's the important point. Not who's in the hallway. Watch what happens now. Watch the staircase behind her. Her shoulder at the base of her shoulder is at, you can see the top of the third step from the top. Come down 1, 2, you see 3 full stairs between her shoulder and the landing on that staircase. Now watch what happens.
these lives that...
Look when she stands up. Her shoulder goes above the top landing, and look where her head ends up at the top of the railing. That's quite amazing when you think that step is only a couple of inches high. Now, you can argue that she's kind of hunched over looking at her phone. You can make that point. I don't have any difficulty with that observation being made. But even with that, she's walking, leaning forward, okay? So I got to go back. I'm going to let it play. Now watch. Here she comes. Look at the staircase. Count down the top 3 stairs. Watch where her shoulder arrives when she walks through that area. See where she is? Now watch this shit. How the hell did she get that much height? Her shoulder now is above the top staircase. That's quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah, that is Xana. Hey, Chloe. Oh, look at that. Who's down here? Oh, that's my thing. What up, Clue? Clue. Xana pretending to be Dylan. But do you guys now see the difference in height? Look at how her head is in relation to the top of that door frame. And I mean Dylan's bedroom door. Look at the relationship between the top of that molding and her head. It's just inches, 6 inches, 7 inches. I don't know. When we get to inches and under 10, us guys are always a bit exaggerative, right? But I think that's kind of freaky. So if Mr. Kohlberger is the perp, he would have been like giant going from that landing down onto her particular floor. And really, her description of the potential perpetrator in that home, her statement is that he was walking towards her. So I'm going to just bump back here a little bit. Will this let me back up? It will. Oh, good. I could use my arrows. Watch, folks. Yeah, this is when they were playing. They were talking shit about each other in a nice way. All right, look at that doorway. Look at how quickly she can go from the kitchen. And she's a small woman. She's got to be, an average woman's about 5'6". So she's got to be that or shorter, right? Now, when you look at her in relation to the top of that doorway, and you look at her in relation to her head to the top of that staircase, I could see somebody seeing you and saying that you're 5'6", like I'm saying. But once she makes this particular step up, She's no longer 5'6" based on what you're seeing from that doorway that's behind her. So because Dylan's door opens, her door opens and swings to the right. Okay, so when Dylan opens up her door, it swings to the right, meaning that the door is opening towards that living space. So to look out of that door to see somebody walking towards you basically means that somebody from the level that Xana is on at this moment, that's pretending to be Dylan, would be walking towards you from that level, heading towards you in a doorway. But that person would have then stepped down. And if Mr. Kohlberger is 6 feet tall, my God, he had to be a hulking fucking giant before he stepped down onto her floor. And her only mention of description is based on what she's telling us is that she witnessed him walking towards her and that he then went out towards the sliding glass door. Could that have been when she decided how tall he was as he headed for the sliding glass door? It seems to me at that moment she was more in panic than she was originally when she witnessed this person clad in black with a black mask covering his nose and mouth, approximately 5'10", not muscular, but average build. That observation came as the person walked towards her based on her own statements. Therefore, whoever was standing there, and we'll go backwards, whoever was standing there may have been 5'10" on that fucking level of the house. Look at this. Whoop, way to hell up that girl goes. So, I think, he'd have to be at least 6'6" or 6'7", you would think. You would think that his height is just obnoxiously tall. And then yet to refer to him as to around 5'10" would put that guy at her height. In other words, that guy on that landing would not have been, he would have been as big as Xana here. And I'm correct in assuming that's Xana, right? Didn't you say that, Clue? That's Xana pretending to be? Yeah, okay. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is that Dylan doesn't really provide us with anything that doesn't also have its exculpatory moments. I just find it rather difficult that you could go from the height of where she is, look at how high the doorway is above her head, right? And then one step later, that's another important feature. This woman is only 5'6", and she took one step into the hallway and her next step puts her up on that landing. It's one stride from one area to the next. Is Heather in here? Heather Fitzgerald, look at that. I'm using your kit there, woman. I don't know if you noticed that in the video, but that's rather surprising to me because I've been in other streams where there's been a discussion and the questioning. She says 5'7" or taller or 5'10" or taller. I thought it was 5'10" to 6 foot. If that guy was 5'7" or taller, that doesn't make any sense. All right, because he would have been standing that significant height taller. So that would mean he was what, 5'2", 5'3"? Are you sure she said the guy was 5'7" or taller? That's in writing somewhere? Because if you can confirm that, I accepted it at face value. I've always heard the term 5'10". Yeah, I've always heard the term 5'10" or taller. What up there, Mama Bear? How are you? And Joanne, and let's see, we got Heather in here. Let me see here. I gotta wait, hang on. What the hell's going on? I don't even know what the hell's going on. How does this work? Wait, am I in stream here? I am. I don't want to ban nobody. Oh, I got to do this on YouTube. Hang on. Prime time with Mama Bear. Hang on. There you go. Just the regular one. Where's Heather? I'm going to make Heather a moderator too. We call you guys the Blue Wrench Army. So everybody with a wrench is considered a regular, and the regulars are the Blue Wrench Army. There's some goofball out here that has roosters in his army. I prefer my army to be armed at least with a wrench so that they could bash someone's head in, if need be. if need be. So that's why I give you the Blue Wrench. Fiance said, she said 5'10", right? But when you watch this video, it doesn't make sense that he could have only have been 5'10". It just doesn't seem like that. The area that she's seeing him come towards her would be like where who was that? Was that let me go back. Is this young blonde hair girl? Is that Dylan? Coming up the staircase? Because the reason I want to show you that is that staircase is the first floor that you would then have to go from the first floor to walk over towards Dylan's room. You would have to cross the living room, is what I call it. They call it the common area. Fuck that. It's the living room. And you go across that living room, and then you step through the step down from the living room onto Dylan's floor. I'm just stunned at how tall that girl becomes once she in relation to the staircase. That's what I'm basing it on. Having the flu for 48 hours. The hell with that. Anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to show. There's other things in here and other people. This video must have been that she put together. She goes way back in time on her stuff. It's pretty awesome. Look.
Female or a same-sex type relationship or some
serial killer. But listen to this guy, because I said this a long time ago too.
Reality is, it sounds like a passionate crime to me. I think it was someone that had a rage, a certain passion to create such violence. The wrong assumption is that could be a male. More than likely, it's a female or a same-sex type relationship or something along those lines.
Do you think a lot of women get away with murder? Because just like me, I usually think it's a man, and so do authorities.
Yeah, I think women, not necessarily do they get away with it, but I think it's probably a delay, because the first thought or the first assumption is the male. And that suspect can actually avoid detection for quite a while.
The only time, I'm going to tell you something right now, folks. If I can say something, is this. The only time it's never viewed as a female is when you don't have Clue around. Because when Clue's around, she's right up on that shit, telling you that you guys are wrong. You don't even consider it a female. You're fucked up. They're worse than men. So in that respect, Clue is always like tuned into just how blind men are to the fact that a woman could be the perpetrator, especially when the crimes become more and more horrific. Right? Something like this, a 4-person homicide. But I don't know who that dude is, Rodney. Retired Louisiana homicide detective. I've always considered that, and that was, I did a big stream. I think I got the most views on any stream was my stream about Dylan. Although that stream about Dylan may be inaccurate, and that true crime, what's her name? Not true crime, Truth and Transparency. Lana, whatever you want to call her. The girl that got rid of that nasty beep in her stream. She suggested that both Dylan and Bethany were downstairs on the first floor when all this happened. And if that's as legitimate, actually maybe even more legitimate, as far as a synopsis of what, and it ties into what could possibly be Bethany's exculpatory evidence that's unique to her. Her statements may have been that her and Dylan were in the first floor bedroom, which contradict Dylan's statements that she was up in her room. Right? But then the other idea that the police came forward and said it's their phones that were downloaded that help establish the time of the crime sounds to me like they were separated. So on that particular aspect in the PCA, it makes what Truth and Transparency or Lena, the girl with no more noise in her stream, it contradicts her analysis of that being a potential. These two young women were in the same room, and I can get on board with that not being the fact, simply because that PCA is written in the way that it's written, and it's given us information or other documents, whether it was in the PCA or not, but that information released by the police that their phones were used to help determine the time of the crime. Which brings me to the biggest point that I've been saying for a long time. How about nobody talks about the water tower and nobody talks about the Range Rover motion detection, 360 Wi-Fi cameras? There are cameras on and under that Range Rover. I don't know, Chris. I didn't know anything about that. I don't know that there were cameras and all that stuff on a Range Rover. I don't know about water tower and live cams. Would that water tower cam be close enough to be relevant to anything happening somewhere in the dark? Probably not. Survivors were on the 3rd floor. He said they were on the 1st floor too. Yeah, and early on, you're right, Heather. Everything was crazy. And anybody's is willing to join. I did copy. I did put the link out there on Discord to people that I know. That for some reason I can't get them to reply to me anymore. They're whatever. Who knows? I wear people to fuck out, bro. I'm good at doing that. I'll wear you to fuck out, and if you let me start over again, I'll wear you out again. Watch out. Okay, but the tower, the water tower camera would probably be more of a weather tower, weather analysis, not something surveilling the town, right? So I would want to know what the water tower camera is connected to what point is that, or to where could that even possibly be relevant? It's not mentioned anywhere. Here's the other thing too that is kind of curious to me, that a lot of people aren't really noticing, especially all the people that ran around saying that they got something we don't know about. They got something we don't know about. And so far in every single motion and every single court request and every part of discovery and everything that's been discussed to this point, and especially in all of the stuff and all of the motions where she's looking to suppress, there is no mention of any evidence that we're not aware of. In other words, so far the evidence is consistent with the PCA. And from what I've observed, I cannot see anything in the PCA that links Mr. Kohlberger to the house, to the crime at that time of the night, on that particular day. Nothing. And so she's not asking to suppress anything additional. I honestly think the Franks hearing is going to be that they knowingly knew that car was an 11 to 13. They knew that. And yet they still ascribed that vehicle to a 15. Once they got their eyes on Brian, that car became everything Brian. And I think that's going to be in the Franks hearing. The FBI agent, from what I understand, is very solid on his identification. He definitely is more comfortable standing on that being 11 to 13, and that the other imagery they showed him being a 14 to 16. Right? I honestly think that a long time ago, that Judge knew that the whole time. I think there's a lot of things the other court knew, and the courts are just trying to give these people the benefit of the doubt, the prosecution. And I think the benefit of the doubt should never be given to the government. The government should always be questioned and held to a standard higher than the citizens it represents. It really should be. And in some cases, that means guilty people go free. And that's just how it's going to be. I just am a little bit tormented. Yeah, that's what I mean. But again, Joanne, the whole PCA exonerates him, right? Especially when, and I said this back on Dago's channel, like in February 2023, I said that the PCA was exculpatory, that it provided Brian the alibi he needs to say he didn't do it. Because here's where a lot of people now, and I want to be as calm and rational as possible when I say this. All of the people that are resting their head on the DNA don't understand the DNA was collected with a warrant that had its complete foundation in the PCA. My wife was definitely wrong when I got a divorce. I don't know that you could find any guy that wouldn't say that. But let me just say, in all fairness, that divorce between myself and my wife was a 50-50 deal. We both fucked up. We both did the wrong things. We both were fucking pig-headed. We both were ignorant. And it's both our faults. It is, 100%. So, I take responsibility for what the actions in that divorce that were mine to own, right? And when you do something that offends people, you don't know how people are going to react. You just don't, whether it's your wife or not. And so, I am, whatever crazy shit she did that's just horrific, that I just would want to choke her to death for doing. I mean, I didn't tell her to do that, but look at that. You're welcome to come on in here. You might know some stuff, Dago, that I've missed. And that's why I said I'm posting this link in here. You're welcome to come up here. Anybody in the chat room, especially Heather. Heather's got a hell of a nice little channel going there. I like your channel, Heather. It doesn't have some crazy bastard like me in it. That's the best part about it. Right? All right, so back to what I was saying. Okay, look, if the probable cause affidavit charges you with a multiple homicide and nothing in that charging document is provable, then any warrant that's issued is issued off the strength of that document. And that document is dead. But I'm live in 15 minutes. Well, come up for 10 minutes then. Come up for 5 minutes. They go. They go. They go through snow. They go through rain. When they go flat, they go wop, wop, wop. All right. Well, yeah. Okay. Well, anybody's welcome to come up. Most of you folks don't. I've always said they could have been done by a girl, especially with the Rage show. They go. Unmute your ass. Can't unmute your guests because they choose to mute themselves.
What's
Don't
up?
be a mute. You could be deaf but not mute. How about that?
What's up? What's up?
How the hell you doing?
50 and fat.
50 and fat.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm 59 and fit.
Yep.
So I got a question for you.
I got an answer for you.
Okay. Is it correct for me to take the opinion that the FBI has been pretty adamant that the car around that house was an 11 to 13?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had that conversation quite a few times.
But this was just filed in her motion. This was just talked about recently because of her new motions to suppress.
Right. Yep.
And somewhere in that, is there a document or is there a statement from an FBI agent that he's stands solid on that particular position that it is an 11 to 13 around the house?
I do believe there should be. I haven't seen the document for sure, but I do believe so.
Okay, yeah, because that being the case, that should be and I've always argued that that car was 11 to 13, that there's no way an FBI agent would get that wrong. Right. I know we live in a corrupt world
because they specialize in that. Of course, not.
We live in a corrupt world, but I'm a car guy. Okay,
right.
I can tell you the difference between a 71 and 73 Chevelle, a 67 and a 69 Mustang. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you know cars, you know cars.
Yes.
Right. Just like somebody, if you're into flowers and someone shows you two flowers that are similar, you're able to identify what's what.
Yes, sir.
And so that's been my big fallback, that it seems to me nothing that these folks have produced in a court of law that places Brian at that crime scene is verifiable. It's junk.
Right. Yes, sir.
And I think that's what the Franks hearing is going to be all about, is showing that everything that's alleged is all unverifiable and unprovable.
Absolutely. Right? Yes, sir. I can agree with you on that for sure.
Yeah, I poke in on everybody's streams. Sometimes I don't say stuff.
That's okay. It's okay.
But
I popped in here. I just wanted to show some respect. I haven't been over here for a while and make sure everybody's liking it up for you.
I think a lot of people they're hanging their head on that DNA.
Oh yeah. I think that's what the big thing is for it, truly.
Oh, hang on. She's got something here.
But I do gotta say though, something people are gonna think I'm crazy because everybody thinks people hate each other out here, but it's not true completely. I don't hate anybody, but something that was set up here in the top.
What? I
still question it because I don't believe Brian's 100% guilty yet. Okay, and Clues over here on the chat and said that she did say this before, guys, when we all used to conversate, that she very well did believe that it could be done by a woman, and that's something I've been thinking about for about 6-7 months since she said that. And nobody else has mentioned it. Nobody else has mentioned it but her. Well, you did say it.
No, remember when I walked away because of all them videos of the cars?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just was like, enough of this, man. Nobody wants to talk about Dylan.
No, I know, and I have to agree with that. I still do. So,
see, I don't think Brian is innocent, Mr. Gannon McSween. I don't think he's guilty.
That's where I'm at. Right.
I think they need to place Brian. Here's what they need to do for me to get on board. And then the DNA becomes relevant, in my opinion. And here's what they need to do. They need to place the 2011 to 13 and the 2014 to 2016 vehicle in the same area, in a similar parking lot, on the same road.
Yep.
That then tells me it's possible for Brian to have gotten into that vehicle.
Yep.
Okay. Or they need to show me that Brian actually stopped. You know, he had to change cars. We know that he drove his car out of his residence. We know that to be true. We then know that his phone stopped reporting to the network. We can accept that as true. Now we need to place him in the 11 to 13. And if you can't do that, then we have another issue here. And the issue is, it couldn't be Brian's car, as you're alleging. To me, that's what she's going to beat these cops up with. They knew unequivocally the idea of that vehicle was not Brian Koberger's car.
Right.
And they ran with the arrest warrant anyway, and they converted their understanding of the car to a 15. And they started naming it Suspect Vehicle 1. I want to know where the fuck Bethany was. She allegedly got home when X did, but didn't walk home with them. Where was she? There was talk a long time ago she left the house.
Well, that's another good question, truly. But there was a rumor, as there are so many of them, that she saw or heard something as she was texting back and forth with Dylan and bolted, possibly, and ran to the apartment complex next door where her friends were. So I don't know if that's true or not. It's another rumor, like I said. So
Right.
But again, truly, it made me wonder if that's why she wasn't in the PCA. Truly.
Right. I want to address Heather's statement. You're right. The PCA does address the vehicle as Brian's 2015, but that identification is coming from the vehicle around the house. Suspect Vehicle 1, and this is another real big problem they have with this case. Dylan's own statements make any vehicle, especially the Elantra, relevant to the crime. If you take away Dylan's statements, that's just some car cruising around the neighborhood. You see? But according to her own statements and times, based on what she said and on what the police are claiming took place outside with cameras, her statements align to the vehicle. The vehicle that they align to is an 11 to 13. However, you're right. In the PCA, they start calling that vehicle a 2015. Brian's Suspect Vehicle 1 is Brian's 2015 Elantra. But the fact of the matter still remains, the FBI has said that it is not.
Let me ask you something then, Sarge, with that being said, and I think we approached this months and months ago, maybe a year ago at this point, and very slightly talked about it. By the way, it's good to talk to you. It's been a while. Do you think, and this is for anybody out here, truly, I know I see a lot of you guys out here that have been around this case since the beginning, and you guys are smart. I've thought about this too over the past 6 months, and I don't know why it came back up in my mind again, but do you think it's possible there was another one?
Another one what?
Another Elantra involved?
Well, to me,
I know the odds. Let me say that first.
There's two cars that they're discussing, but I believe there's only one vehicle associated with the crime scene.
I know that, but there was another car that was driven by a girl that was friends with a group of kids that hung around that area of people, okay? And I had to wonder if there was a possibility that car was seen and confused with the other one, possibly.
I don't know. I'll tell you what I do. What I will conclude is that the FBI saw the rear bumper, because that's the only way. The rear bumper and the rims are about the only way you could tell those two vehicles apart.
Yes, I agree.
And if you remember this, I was with Clue and Cletus, and remember when they tore the house down?
Yes.
And there was a green wrap.
We were all there.
Colored Elantra coming into that area, right?
Yep. The car was white. That car used to be white.
Yeah. Its license plate was bent under the front fascia.
Right.
But as it approached us, it appeared to be a vehicle without a front license plate.
Yes.
And I jumped on that real quick. And then Clue and Cletus, and they kept playing the video back and forth. And you could see that there was a license plate, but it had been bent.
Right. And Clue said, I think Clue was the one that said that she could, something about how she knew that the car used to be white or something like that. Remember?
Yeah, yeah. That looked to be like a wrap, and it was funny that car was part of than an Elantra, but really in that state, they claimed the police said there were 22,000.
20,000 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They said 22. Heather's got the actual police statement on her stream,
Right.
one of her streams. Yeah. So, all right. Well, I'm glad you came up. And again, anyone else out there can come up. I'll post it.
I'd spend more time, honest to God, if I wouldn't have had this scheduled to go live. But because I still have issues with this case, Sarge. I always have from day one. You know that. And I have issues with Brian Koberger being the one that they are dead set on and have not put the finger on anybody else, even remotely. They've not looked at anybody. Not one other person have they looked at least not that they put out to the public. So,
no, that look at everything is tore up from the floor up. I mean, it would be that 8-hour delay with Dylan and Bethany is a huge issue, right? So that's just a big problem. And so many other little pieces of the case that don't make the case as smooth and as easy as they suggest it is. The idea that one person did this, right? It's just hard to accept. And then you walk by another female victim, and she obviously sees you for a period of time long enough to give a description, but you didn't see her. That just doesn't.
So it doesn't make sense. It never did.
No.
Those are one of the few things that has driven me nuts with this case. From that, the car issue, the 8-hour period of time, and the fact that the two roommates saw and heard, according to the cheesecloth, the PCA, anything else. Those are my issues with this, and the fact that nobody's ever been able to put any DNA on anything that Brian Koberger owns.
The victim DNA.
Right, that's what I mean. Sorry,
which should have been established before the arrest and the charging documents were signed off by a judge.
Yep.
And these police, I can't imagine that these police can defend. I mean, this is what I think they're doing. As a prosecutor, I suspect that what they're doing with this car is they're going to leave it to a jury to decide. In other words, this judge isn't going to end the case because the cops got the car wrong.
No.
They're going to let that go in front of a jury and let the jury decide, which is really heinous.
Well, what do you think the jury's going to say, though? Think about that for a minute. What do you think they're going to do with that car?
I think the jury is going to be convinced that they're going to take the picture that the FBI agent held up, and they're going to take a picture of the back of an Elantra from a car dealership, and they're going to say, "Listen, this is the back of Brian's car. This is the back of anybody's 2011 to 2013, and this is the picture the FBI agent examined. Of these three vehicles, what two are the same? It's like a fucking Sesame Street show."
Yeah.
And they're going to come back, and the jury's going to say, "Well, the image the FBI guy was given is 11 to 13." Right? How about that motion where she said the image the FBI relied on to identify the 14 to 16 was a car going the wrong way on the wrong street at the wrong time?
Yeah.
Right? Remember that motion?
Yes, I do. I do.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for stopping up here, Dago. I won't keep you trapped. Go ahead.
It's all right. It's all right. I'm probably going to be talking about that too. I'm having just an open conversation night about whatever we talk about, multiple things. So whenever you're done, if you're bored, you're welcome to drop back by.
All right, cool. I'll be in here for another 15 or 20 minutes.
All right, brother. Thank you much for having me. Everybody in chat, great to see you all. And thank you for listening. And I will see you guys again soon. Take care.
Right. Here's my personal views. And I want to say something. It might piss a lot of you off. But I don't really give a fuck. This is your Ass Hurts News Network, and I am that fucking jerk off Sergeant Friday. Just remember, don't let a fucking clock land on your mother. If that happens, don't come talking to me about it. Okay? I'm the last person you want to share that information with. Anyway, there is no way to know who committed this crime. There is no way to know. And that's kind of where these other shows get me unhinged. Okay? I just am saying, is that 11 plus 1? That ain't 12 gauge, is it? Her granddaddy clock has a body count. No, that was that cop there. I forget his name, John or something. Cy Ray said that there's something else. Oh, I was up here. Ethan and Zana is the key to figuring out what happened. We're never going to know what happened. We're never going to know what happened unless somehow, some way, out of the blue, from obviously not from the efforts of the Idaho Police Department, but some outsider comes forward and tells the story. somebody that was intimately involved and has evidence that can show us what happened, right? But until that happens, folks, that's why I go crazy with all these shows, looking at reflections, videos of the Banfield, videos of this, videos of the grub truck, video. Listen, the only dots that you can connect are the dots that are given to you. And the only way that you can use those dots, if you're a smart person, is within the limits of those dots. You can't start bringing in what if, coulda, woulda, shoulda, because at that point, those dots no longer are relevant. You destroy the validity of the dot. So when the policeman tells you that the car was an 11 to 13 as identified by an FBI agent, you must accept that. I said that when it happened. You cannot assume that he made a mistake and then supplant what he's already documented as stating and supplant that with your, no, he erred, so it's a 15. That's Brian's car. How many of you have done that? Or how many of you know people that have done that? I'll tell you what those people typically are. They're college-educated people. And let me tell you the difference between a college-educated person and a smart person. A college-educated person is taught to be a conformist to society. Do you understand? College's biggest accomplishment is to get citizens to conform to society, to get them people to conform to whatever views the college has. That's what you get from college. You get a conformist identification. A smart person is self-educated. A smart person, even in college, will take what's told to them in college and then dig into it to understand the ups, the downs, and the ins and outs, or whatever that might be. That's what a smart person does. So the teacher may bring up some particular issue with, say, you're an engineer and you're building buildings, right? Here's a really good example. There's a building in New York City that was built, folks. And they bolted the main truss work. The main frame of the building was bolted together. And that building stood for years, a decade. A young woman went to college for engineering. And out of the blue, she picked that building as an engineering study. And when she did the math on that particular building, she found out that any gust of wind over 78 miles an hour or something would blow the building over because the frame wasn't rigid enough to remain standing because it was bolted. And this is a prominent building in New York. She brought this information to her teacher. Other engineers, including the building's contractor and engineer, reviewed her numbers and said, oh my God, we fucked up. They then secretly entered that building and started welding all of the bolted areas together. Okay? At night, they would go into that building like they were janitors. And they welded all of those big trusses and all of those big beams together to make one rigid form. And that woman is absolutely somebody that's smart. She didn't just let the teachers tell her what to think, tell her how to view things, and tell her what the results are. She listened to their stories, took their information, and applied it to her own ability to go and think. And she saved the New York City, one of the skyline buildings, from actually tipping the fuck over. Right? And that's the difference between a college-educated person and a smart person. Hey there, JC. And what do we got here? Let me look up on I got 80 people in here. That's kind of cool. And you're right. No one has shown that that sedan was involved in the crime. And the Banfield footage sorts it. All of that other footage is, do you agree? I think you agree, Heather. It's a distraction. It's great to get clicks. It's great to get numbers into your stream. It's great to get people to donate to your cause or whatever you're doing for an income. That's great. But does it really help anyone? Or does it keep people confused? Because people are so accustomed to being told what to think. And this isn't just a Democrat or Republican thing. Okay? This is how we've been trained through our schools. I've said this before, folks. They had to remove the globe of the earth from my kindergarten class because there was no way you were going to tell me that all these land masses didn't make one piece at one time. There was no way you were going to, and I was like 6 years old and I was 5 years old. Started kindergarten at 4. I became 5 while I was there. They had to remove the globe from the classroom. I was so obsessed with it. And it wasn't until a couple of 3 years later that it became a commonly educated point of Pangea. So I was right on the edge when I first saw the globe for the first time in my life. It wasn't being taught in schools that there was a supercontinent, that all of these land masses were together, that these land masses moved because they are on a molten body of lava underneath us. And that was not being taught. And I was smart enough at that point, as even a 5-year-old, to see there's no way you're going to convince me that these things didn't connect. Anyway, and I'm not trying to brag about how smart I am. It's just that observation and coming to some type of conclusion based on the information available to you. All I had were visual cues that these particular bodies of land connected to each other. And those visual cues turned out to be accurate. That doesn't mean they were going to be. I could have been wrong. But as fate turned out, later on it was shown that I was absolutely right. Yeah, they definitely have. But imagine a 5-year-old being so obsessed with that they had to remove the globe from the classroom to get me to fucking shut up. Right? You guys know how I am. There's a video of XK at the end of 1122 King Road's driveway. Near the road. It shows tire marks that after the crime lab is shown measuring. Yeah, there's a video of XK, Zana Kernoodle, at the end of 11. Who's XK? Who is XK? At 2:26, Kaylee's first call to Jack. 3:26 exactly, 1 hour later, Brian Koberger's car is seen in Moscow. No, there is no sighting of Brian Koberger's car in Moscow. There's a sighting of a 2011 to 2013 Elantra at best, or there's a sighting of an Elantra. There is no identification to place Brian Koberger's car in Moscow. I mean, that's the real truth of the matter is, I don't know how to say your name, TB. Zana Kernoodle. Okay. Law enforcement. So you're saying that Zana Kernoodle's, those were her car tires that made those marks? Clarify what you're saying there, Heather. There is no identification of Koberger's car in Moscow or around that house. There just isn't. The FBI has confirmed that. It's her talking in August about living on King Road and talking about her job. The same tire marks that law enforcement seen measuring after the crime scenes are in that video. Oh, okay. Right. We don't know. Yeah, so we don't know if those tire marks had anything to do with the crime. But let me just say, this is another failure on behalf of the Moscow, or the what is it? Whatever, the Idaho Police Department there. If you even thought that the tire marks that were left on the pavement were related to this crime, why would you let the man that owns that car, that owns that same type of vehicle, that has that same similar type of tire, why would you let that person drive almost 3,000 miles on those tires? That's going to put marks in the tire that absolutely will not connect. It's going to destroy identifying marks that may be in the tire based on your photos. A tire changes. You know, tires are good for 20, 30,000 miles. You're talking about taking off 10 or 15% of their wear, which means some of the issues that you caught with that tire when you took a picture are going to be gone. So the lack of them actually even getting an imprint or taking pictures of Brian's tires pre-arrest is gone. So there's no way to connect his car there with tires. And now you're saying that mark was there. So there's proof that makes no damn sense. Right? None of this makes sense the only thing that makes sense tragically is that these 4 young people were slaughtered like that. That's the only thing we can say for 100% the cops got that right. Right? They didn't play a weekend at Bernie's with any of the victims, these fucking idiot Keystone cops. But they didn't do any pre-investigative work that would make a warrant for his arrest. I'm just stunned. How did they get this through the grand jury? No, I stand behind what Heather puts forward too. I was using one of her videos up here, man. And I've always had more of a feeling that this was based on substantial data that I've acquired throughout my life. We're exactly 2 hours later. PCA supply goes back online. Yeah, it was 2:47 and 4:48 a.m. You're right. That's exculpatory. At 2:47 a.m., it went off network in Moscow. At 4:48 a.m., it came back online, according to them, in Blaine, Idaho, which is nowhere near the crime scene either. It's a greater distance away from the crime scene than when it stopped reporting to the network in Pullman, Washington. So even using the particular phone time, even if Brian did turn the phone off, both of those particular times of night are exculpatory. They place him nowhere near the home. You see? That's why I always said that the PCA was an exculpatory document more than it was an inculpatory. Knowing that the phone turned on and off 2 hours apart, okay, doesn't tell you he was at that house. What's up there, Mikey? I've been semi-retired now for about 30 years. I didn't know that Andrew Carnegie believed what I believed, which is a man should never work more than 2 hours a day. I work 2 hours a day, roughly 9 months a year, 5 days a week, 2 hours a day, 9 months a year, to buy cigarettes and alcohol. I'm in dire need of financial assistance. I lost all my money on crypto. My stomach also hurts. Well, no, I really can't help you with that. 312 runner seen on Banfield. See, all of that stuff doesn't really matter to me. That 312, that doesn't mean anything. That's the stuff I try to stay away from. TB. Yeah, Heather I've watched 3 of them, right? And there's more to watch. She's got quite a bit of stuff there. She's awesome, man. I like the way she puts those together. She does, man. I didn't see the time zone one. So are you saying that Brian's phone's time zone in Washington was different than the time zone in Idaho? That they were in 2 different time zones? That's not what you're saying, is it? Usually handwritten notes make good evidence, but I heard anything about the handwriting. Dana tag on the Jack in the Box bag that was said to be delivered by DoorDash. Yeah, that's another thing. That DoorDash. Look, like I'm saying, if Brian could be connected to that 11 to 13 Hyundai Elantra, okay. But then the problem I have with even seeing that they have any way of doing that is they completely switched the FBI's identity to match Brian's car. So that tells me that they're saying suspect vehicle 1 went into that neighborhood so many times, and suspect vehicle 1 is a Brian Koberger's vehicle, right? So that means that they didn't even look. I mean, that's what a good investigator does, right? Okay, but let's get back to the car. There's 2 cars in their imagery. They should have tried to connect these cars so that you could then see an exchange of passengers. You could then see the potential that Brian got out of his 15 and jumped into a 13. If you want to talk about creating a perfect crime, that is the perfect crime. That is the perfect crime. So would be leaving your DNA in that knife sheath. That would be the perfect crime. So if you want to see a perfect crime, then you need to connect Brian from getting out of his vehicle with his phone off, leaving the phone in that vehicle, right? Going and committing the crime. But then see, it doesn't work. Yeah, it might work out. Here's how this might work out. The drive to where Brian was supposedly picked up at 4:48 a.m. with his phone is 11 minutes. And I asked, what's his name? Twizzlestick to check this. It's an 11-minute drive from the murder scene. Is it possible that vehicle left the murder scene, dropped Brian back off in his car? Brian jumped in his car and drove to where they state that they found him on the air again, and that distance would be equal to 28 minutes after the crime. That seems to be a potential thing because you've got 11 minutes to get there. That leaves you 17 minutes to get to Brian's car, get Brian in his car, get Brian to drive from where he is to that distance of 11 minutes away from that home. Right? I mean, so my point is you could still connect Brian Kohlberger to this crime. That's why I keep insisting. I don't know if he's innocent or guilty. I just don't know. You do have to make up some big leaps. Right? You have to make some leaps. You have to suppose something that there's no evidence for. And that's why I try to stay away from all of these other videos and all that. You've got to make a leap of faith. Your logic comes to an end, and then you're going to fill it in with just something, right? Like that one goofball I can't stand. It says, well, how do we know he didn't make a U-turn? We know he didn't make a U-turn because there is absolutely no video evidence, no statements as such, nothing connecting that vehicle to doing that. And in fact, the only information we have about the vehicle around that house is the FBI's information. And if you take, let's just say this, folks, okay? Do you see that all the times for the PC are exactly 1 hour apart, except for the time his phone was said to be offline, which was exactly 2 hours apart? Yeah, I think that they're guessing, right? They're doing their best guess. They're coming as close, but I don't know. What does that mean to you when you're pointing it out? So tell us, what does that mean to you? This case is based on a lost investigation. Too many assumptions and no facts, and can't put it. See, I agree with that, Mikey. I said that from the beginning. Listen, I've been arrested. I've been part of the criminal court processes in New York. I had more success getting rid of lawyers, or some of my best successes were hiring lawyers that represented me, but I did all the casework that they presented to the court. I did awesome when I did that. You know, I grabbed a lawyer by his necktie and was going to throw him off the roof of a parking garage. Not the roof, but the top of the parking garage. I wanted to throw this guy. My father stopped me from doing that. I'm going to throw this lawyer right off into traffic, son of a bitch. He didn't know the law at all. I went and started looking at divorce law, and I started looking at restraining orders, and I started looking at the rights that I had as a person on the receiving end of this shit. Okay? And I had a lot of rights. That's what a lot of people don't realize. There's a lot of protections between you and prison. There's a lot of protections between you and being arrested. There's a lot of protections between you being charged. And that's what turned me on to this Kohlberger case, because all those protections were just ignored. So once they realized that car around the house, the FBI confirmed it to be and is unchallengeable. The time zone correctly with their video. Moscow and Pullman are on the same time zone. I would suspect they are. They're miles apart, although it's possible, but unlikely. Right? Unless you could see a time zone that separates the two. I don't think that they would be. They bumped the hour because they already released that. It was literally in the backyard of the house. Yeah, I'm not sure where that's going. I'm following what you're saying. Also, keep in mind, before the PCA, Frantic is quoted talking about white cars at certain times. Who's Frantic? I don't know who that is or what that is. Right. Brian drove south. Brian he's already told us his alibi. And he said, and here's the other thing that disturbs me, folks, is that they knew that the 12 previous trips that Brian connected to that tower with at similar times, okay, that he drove in similar areas. They wrote that to make him look guilty. And they always knew that the connections that they had to those 12 previous trips did not put him on King Road or Queen Road at all. Okay? That's offensive to me. 2 murder times in 2 cars. The time BK's phone was offline was 2 hours because it had to cover both times they said the murders. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, I'm just saying you can make leaps of faith. You could say that Brian Kohlberger turned off his phone and parked somewhere over by where they first identify the Elantra, right? Isn't it coming out of some Indian hills or something like that, folks? Doesn't this car just all of a sudden appear somewhere in Moscow? Now, what you need to do is you need to show me, Brian, another Elantra in that similar area, right? So then you could say he got out of his car and got in that car. Now, here's the problem. You then have to say that there's two suspects here, right? It does. It just appears. You know what I mean? How did Brian's car get? Did it fly? Is there a tunnel? Elon Musk is really big about tunnels. So is there a tunnel we don't know about over there? Or let's get that jerk off, that TikTok guy with the funny clown face. What's his name? Drip Drop. He's got a drip, okay, and he's penicillin. The guy's brain damage with the tunnels. Remember the guy with the tunnels? Maybe Brian Kohlberger drove through the tunnels and popped up on Indian Hills Drive and got in another car. The PCA shows exculpatory evidence that actually protect the accused. And like I played a little clip the other day, right, Joanne? So this fucking guy, he's got some super fucking power we're unaware of. Brian Kohlberger's power is to tunnel through the ground with a fucking basic Hyundai that we all know are junk, but they must have some built-in feature, a knob next to the radio or something that allows them to tunnel from one place to the other. I've been looking to catch up, and I can't find anything new since I left. Chuck this case out. No, there's new. There's filings to suppress. There's filings to suppress evidence that have been filed by Ann. And the funny thing is that, and this is what kind of really gets me going when I'm watching these people talk about him being guilty. How come every single motion the defense has filed has turned out to be true? Just think about that. He was supposed to have connected to their Wi-Fi. Remember that bullshit with Steve Gonzalez coming out? Oh, they got ways of tracking you don't even know about. Remember that? He was stalking them, 12 trips. He was touching to him with Instagram or whatever the fuck these girls go on to make money. All of these accusations that came out because of the way the PCA was written. And when she filed motions, okay, all her motions turn out to be true. Nobody has contradicted. There's been nothing in evidence or no testimony from anybody, not even somebody in a hearing blurting out. Because that's what you do as a witness. What you're able to do is blurt something out that's true, that may not be part of the questioning you're answering, right? None of that's happened either. So there's nothing connecting him to the victims electronically or otherwise. There's no victim DNA that can be connected to Brian Kohlberger, and any place Brian Kohlberger is known to be: home, car, apartment, workplace, right? None. Not even transfer DNA like they claim they found on a brass button. Okay? No, the prosecutor is on their back foot. The prosecutor is pushing to prosecute a man based on evidence that can't be verified. And that's why I've said this, and some of you guys have known me since I've been back online here. Not only is the PCA exculpatory to benefit the accused, but the PCA goes beyond being beneficial and actually provides him with an alibi. And every single thing in the PCA she's destroyed. She's destroyed the identity of the car. Now the FBI has confirmed that. She's destroyed that he stalked them for 12 different trips. And this is what amazes me, folks. If you want a lesson in what a college education does for a person, go watch Bill Thompson. He's a highly college educated guy, a book guy, but he's got to be about the most ignorant jerk off I've ever seen in a courtroom. When the defense puts out a questionnaire for the jury, and in the questionnaire they bring up Brian Kohlberger stalking the victims, and he jumps up in a court and he actually brings the fucking defendant to court to get them to destroy that fucking questionnaire, okay? Because it's full of falsehoods. That Mr. Kohlberger, there is no evidence of him stalking. Why would a prosecutor do that? No, the DNA is not in limbo. I brought this up the other day. The DNA I don't think people quite understand just how difficult something is to discover from nothing. I want you to go into a supermarket, swab something, bring it to a fucking lab and tell them to tell you who that person is. Try that, folks. You know how difficult that is to take, especially in this case where they had skin cells, dead skin cells. Less than, I think they claim 8 to 11 pieces is the capacity or the capability of the lab they sent the sample to. A fingerprint, here's an example that you can relate to. Go get a fingerprint off of a teller machine, right? And bring it into the police. And if that fingerprint isn't in the database, how are you going to find that person? Can someone give me an idea how the fuck do you find someone with a fingerprint that's not in the fucking system? How do you find them? And I'm going to tell you how this ends up being Brian Koberger's DNA. It's because Brian Koberger's name was given to the lab. Maybe they gave his name to the lab with a few others, but I suspect that DNA was given the name Brian Koberger. And that's what the lab went to connect to. In other words, they had a target. When you don't have a target and you have to take a tiny little microscopic piece of DNA and amplify that, you are not going to be able to use that to identify everybody in a database. Yeah. Thompson made a huge scene out of that. He's an idiot. I'd rather have Ann as a lawyer than I would Thompson, by far. Whew. But do you follow what I'm saying, folks? You would need a couple of targets to check that fucking DNA against. And since the DNA wasn't a complete sample, in other words, they didn't have semen, blood, urine. They didn't have a fingerprint. Transfer DNA is dead skin cells. 70 to 80% of the dust in your home is dead skin cells. Okay? That's how prevalent this shit is. And they took that and found it not to be, it was a male, but of unknown origin. And you can't take a complete unknown and then narrow that unknown, that tiny sample, you're going to narrow that down to a specific person on this planet. Man, I'm telling you, that's a fucking amazing thing. I don't know. I mean, the next thing you're going to tell me is that we got warp drives and that, you know, we can, I don't even know. You can levitate your wife over the coffee table or something. I don't think people even give it much thought. The task that was assigned to that lab, we have DNA, right? But we don't know whose it is. The amplification didn't identify who it was. The amplification only gave them what they claim the tools to begin building a tree. And I'm telling you that had to include names of people. And here's the kicker to DNA. DNA is a statistical analysis. It's background investigations. It's connecting people to other people and building a tree based on not just your chemical analysis, not just your DNA observations, but actually going back and trying to find individuals within that line, okay, that were part of the people that are connected to that DNA, that tree, right? You would need a target. Especially, folks, when unless you have a complete DNA sample that you can then take and then compare to other complete DNA samples, right? It goes back to the fingerprint argument. If I take my finger and I put a clear print on a piece of glass and you turn it into the police, they don't have any possibility of identifying who that fingerprint belongs to. However, if when you give that to the police, you then give them names of potential individuals that fingerprint belongs to, they now have an investigative starting point. The difference between a fingerprint and DNA is there is no statistical analysis in a fucking fingerprint. A fingerprint is a fingerprint is a fingerprint, and it is yours. Okay? Statistically, it's like 1 in I don't know how many billion would have your fingerprint, but That number is bigger than all people that have ever lived. In the DNA, just so you know, and you could go look yourself, go look at maternity testing. You are the father. That decision is based on a statistical analysis. You could go out in the public, folks, and you could take my daughter's DNA, and I could go out in the public and pick men that are of my age and basically maybe my heritage and have them tested to see if they're the father of my daughter. And I promise you that those men will come back with markers that match my daughter. Not all of them, but they will come back with markers that match my kid. In New York State, it might be 90% or less. 90% of a match is when they say you are the father. Not 100%, 90%. So DNA, unfortunately, we've all been boondaggled to believe DNA is as strong as a fingerprint. And I will say that under certain circumstances, that is correct. But when you have to manufacture or what do they say they did with that DNA sample? They had to do something to that sample to build that sample. And that to me, then they build a sample. Now that sample then has to be compared to millions and millions of other people that have, right? And then you got to find people that have some of the same markers that sample has. But let me be very clear, as I'm trying to point out with the paternity stuff. Other men have them same fucking markers. When I was accused of being a father, somebody did a paternity test. I came back with like 6 of the potential 12 markers of being the dad. I never had sex with this girl. She gave me a blowjob. There's no way that kid could have been mine. Yet there were still 6 markers that matched my markers that came from that child's DNA. So what did I half fuck her? I just half did it? No. That's when my eyes opened up about DNA, and I became an absolute hater of DNA. Because DNA, unless you have full samples, and you know the identity of one sample, you can then compare it to the next sample and say that these samples match. But when you have to then go through this process of taking microscopic skin cells and amplifying it, I have a problem with that. That's where that then once it amplifies, you still don't have Brian Kohlberger's sample. This is the other ball breaker. You still don't have Brian Kohlberger's sample when you're doing this. And the idea that the sample you collected from the trash was his father's, just so you know, you still don't have Brian Kohlberger's sample. This is why the DNA to me is a huge problem. The only way you got his fucking DNA was after you charged him and formally arrested him for the murder of 4 college students. You then were given a warrant for a buccal swab, meaning that the DNA came after the arrest, not before. There was no effort prior. And the fact that they collected the dad's DNA, just because my dad's DNA might be a close or even a perfect or a match to mine, doesn't mean I committed a crime. What do you do to exclude the father? How do you exclude the father from not committing the crime? Why weren't they both arrested? That's mind-numbing to me. It really is. I don't get how the father got out, didn't get charged. Right? Comes to Zaina placed DoorDash order 253, which makes 4 events. This commentator had no way to know all these timelines lined up like this. That's why the other people that also have the same number of markers is important. See, Heather, you kind of get it, right? No, it's a statistical look. When you build a tree, folks, when you look at someone's DNA, that DNA can lead to several different particular family members that may not even be part of your family. Your aunt could have bore a child from some fucking jerk off from Russia and never seen and never had any contact with that person again. That baby then goes on to procreate, but that baby's your baby, the mother, right? That person's gone. You have no idea who the father is. So this keeps happening throughout the tree of your family. In other words, you are going to have markers that matches that kid, but not totally, because there is no other marker for that father. You don't know who that father is. You can't get the information from that father. It's an unknown. So when you're looking at these family trees and you're looking at these groups of people that could potentially be related to this person, It's a statistical analysis. This is 80% sure that this person is part of Koberger's family. So what do? They go back into the record books and they look to see who came on at Ellis Island, who these people's relatives were, what records, how far back do the records go? And it just gets to be insane. What is his name, by the way, to see what I'm saying? No, I'm seeing what you're saying to an extent. The unconfirmed report. So why I didn't include it? Go ahead there. I told people they can actually click and come in here, TB. I keep posting the link. His dad did not ping there. His dad probably didn't turn off his phone at the time of the crime. Well, Rhea, there's no ping that places Brian Koberger at that house. But we do have testimony that Brian Koberger's father had been in that area, that Brian Koberger's father had planned to be in that area, that Brian Koberger's father, in fact, came to that area before the crime and after the crime. So we do have that evidence that that's true, that his father and him drove around. No, I'm not attacking you. Had a name to build around backwards. That's what I'm saying happened, Mikey, exactly that. And what I'm telling you is, just because an aunt is 70% likely to be in your family tree, don't make her part of your tree. That's the fucking problem. Just because I had 60% of my DNA match that child, it don't make me the father. This is the point I'm trying to show people. It's a statistical analysis of the data available to you. Now, you can't have all data available because there's only about 20 million people that have given their DNA up, even if it's 50 million people. There's 350 million people here and there's 8 billion on Earth. So there's no way. That's why it's broken down into a statistical analysis. What are the odds that this aunt that produced these kids that went on to produce these people and this family, what are the odds that they're connected to Brian Koberger? There's a 72% likelihood that aunt is part of his tree. That's what they're doing. But again, I say they had to have his name. They needed a target to match that up to. And then it isn't a match like a fingerprint. It's a match based on a statistical analysis of a database that's incomplete. That's the problem with the DNA. Why do people keep saying that? It's so annoying. Why do they keep saying what? The best is to come. He's quoting Trump, I think. The best is yet to come. Trailblazers. All right, so you guys, come on, put some stuff in the chat room. I'll be quiet for a minute. Well, do you ever, what is, okay. And so 48 minutes later, the crime took place, according to the police. Illegally gathered by law enforcement using his genetic information. There you go. When did that motion get filed, Heather? Sounds to me like the defense is saying that law enforcement matched perfectly to Brian Koberger genetic information. So breakdown. Zav Girl discovered it on her live stream that they made her take it down, so you can go see her explanation video to why she took it down. Okay, so there's a vehicle leaving that ban field, even if it's pulling away with aggression. Is that connected to the crime? That's the problem with seeing an unrelated video that hasn't been entered in evidence. You're trying to build a case and you're trying to create a case off of outside information. Information, yes, that's been collected, but not information that's been connected to this crime, right? 14 November 24. So what is make your point real brief and like give me a conclusion to the point you're making, Heather, and that's the exculpatory evidence they are withholding. I think the best that could be as far as exculpatory evidence is that they could show several Elantras in the area that are not Brian's. That would be exculpatory. But that would have to be consistent. That is the suspect vehicle 1. Well, how do you know that that's the suspect vehicle 1? How do you know that that's an 11 to 13 Elantra? How did you have an image that showed the ass end of that vehicle? That showed the marker lights were in different positions than a 16 or a 15? I mean, there's only one real way to certainly identify an 11 to 13 different than a 14 to 16, and that's the marker lights on the rear back bumper. That's it. The other way, rims, but rims can be changed. An 11 rim will fit a 14. A 14 rim will fit 11. So that's iffy, right? But the idea that the fascia, and we already have a picture of the back of Brian's car when he was stopped by the Indiana police, and the back of Brian's car is clearly a 14 to 16. There's no question about that. But the only way to identify that vehicle is different than Brian's is that rear bumper. That's it. It seems interesting that the way law enforcement was illegal because they matched directly. When he used one of those DNA kits, he must be opted out of sharing. Okay. All right. That makes sense. That's why they handed the Discovery over, cut it up, missing audio, because it screeched its tires even as it left. But that was at 312. That was Trailballs. I don't know what the hell your name is. TB. And right, but you follow me though with this unknown DNA that you just can't drop that into 23andMe and get a match. They had enough DNA to start to build a tree, right? And that tree is going to be based on statistical analysis of the DNA. Do you follow me on that, Heather? And so for me, they would have had to have had his name and maybe a couple other names as suspects. And if he did the opt out of sharing and there is no warrant, and again, this goes all the way back to why there's a gag order. The gag order exists, folks, because there was a tip. And the tip was the IGG work from the FBI. It wasn't his sister. I mean, let me give you, just so that you can understand how this is most likely the most accurate thing that you're going to hear from a streamer. If his sister gave the tip, if they gave a tip from the sister to the police, the information collected on her brother shows that he wasn't involved. This is why I'm saying the tip has nothing to do with somebody from the outside. It can't be. It can't be somebody that knows him. It can't be somebody that saw something, because the PCA in no way, shape, or form connects Brian to the crime. What connects Brian to the crime, Heather's going to love this, because this is what I think Truth and Transparency has been saying. But now I'm giving you facts and information that will get you all to see this. The only thing that connects Brian to the crime is the IGG. And that IGG report, they then took the video that they had and the data that they did hold, and they made it fit. If Brian drove a Toyota Corolla, he wouldn't. I mean, to me, the entire world, you've heard of Murphy's Law. I think there needs to be a new phrase coined, Kohlberger's Law. When you run into a spat of bad luck, that's Kohlberger's Law. Okay. And it goes back to why temps. Yeah. So in this particular instance, folks, you have a crime constructed. You have a target, and you have a crime constructed around the target, not because the sister turned him in, but because the FBI told the Pullman police, the Idaho cops, that the suspect should be Brian Kohlberger. And then they connected, Kohlberger's got oh my God, he's got an Elantra. And then they built the case based on the video footage that they had, and then they looked at phones and they built the case off of that information. None of that information connects him to the crime. By day 3, after cross of Dillon, then the first responder Brady issue. The coroner and investigators in charge, with all their history and experience and mistakes and stuff. No, they intentionally built this case to fit Brian Kohlberger because that was the name that the FBI gave them. And they, like so many people on the stream world, like some of the viewers of the stream world, DNA means everything. DNA means he did it. And people will not understand the complexities of DNA. They don't, again, they're not smart people. Most people, I've said this a million times, most of the 5.62 billion people online are fucking morons. And that includes a lot of your professionals out there. Okay. And I'm not egomaniac or narcissist. This is proven over time. Over and over again. Where these people that are in positions, right? I own a specific company that concentrates on one specific service and does nothing except that one specific service. You better fucking be hoping I know what the fuck we're doing, right? You have to ask yourself, what are the things that happened on November 29th, 2022? It all came together. Has the public been shown? No, we haven't been shown the cause of death, other than we're saying it was knife wounds. They determined it to be a K-bar because they had a K-bar sheath. I said almost in the beginning of this, right, that the evidence room of that particular police agency, the evidence contained within should have been subpoenaed by Ann. She should have demanded that the court file a motion with the court that she wanted to see the evidence room to see if there were any K-bars listed in their possession and if those K-bars still existed in their possession. Yeah, everything I appreciate that, echoes of clarity. That's true. Everything I've said about the PCA has been completely confirmed. And so everybody is dropping back to the default, the DNA. And I don't suspect that DNA is going to be usable in court, in all fairness. They can claim all they want that the DNA matches the sample from the knife sheath. But let me be very clear, folks. It doesn't. And it doesn't because the sample from the knife sheath was amplified. Okay? It was amplified. Therefore, the result of that amplification is not the DNA they collected off of the knife sheath. That'd be one argument I'd make. And I'd argue till I was blue in the face. You built the DNA sample. You had 20 or 8 or 10 microscopic particles that you created a sample from. That's not what you collected off the sheath. You collected does it match the 8 or 10 particles? No. Because there isn't enough DNA in your fucking possession to match another DNA. Do you understand? So to me, the argument would be you got the fragment of a bullet and you reconstructed or you amplified that fragment to confirm that it came from that gun. See, the problem with science is there's too many of these jerk-offs with those yard signs. We believe in science. I believe in God. All things, man, like it says on your money, we trust, what is it? And God we trust. In man I question. You see? Banfield body came out. Be on the lookout. It's possible, but they had collected images. FBI keep the car years as it was, but law enforcement. That's true. The FBI is sticking to the 11 to 13 around the crime scene. There's another guy out here. I lost track of him, but I forget his name. A lot of people give the guy a hard time because he came off as arrogant, kind of like I do, but I don't feel what I'm saying is arrogant. I have facts to support the position I make, and I'm not adding and manipulating or bringing up imagery or talking about something that's not part of the court case. That's all I focus on. I don't give a fuck who did it. I want who did it caught, but I absolutely don't want to see my government, which is a policeman. My government is a fucking court clerk and a judge. Those are my government. Those are the people that are supposed to protect me, right? Even though I live 1,200 miles away, I don't give a fuck. You got rules to follow, my friend. There's procedures. There's the right and wrong way to do things, and you must always do the right thing, right? It was a tree they so-called made earlier. Only way to, well, no, I honestly think that they took a plethora of evidence and they made it fit. Their story is the story of any of these idiots out here connecting the Banfield boys and connecting the frats and connecting this and connecting that. It's stories. There's no connection to what's being alleged. And really, I know it's tempting to try to figure out who did it. I can understand the pull and the inquisitiveness, but when you take that track and try to solve this crime, you have to fill your reasoning with unknowns, right? And there's no way to come to a conclusion with unknowns. Can you imagine wandering around in the woods and you get lost and you have no idea about any of the foliage, any of the things that are, what are you going to eat? I know what I'm going to eat. What are you going to eat? You see, a smart person, you know what a smart person would do? They'd find a place that gave them a view of the area they were in. Okay. They would try to mask their scent and they would hide and they would observe what the local wildlife is fucking eating. And then they would attempt to duplicate that. That's what a smart person would do. Okay. A desperate, hungry idiot that went to college would just start picking on things that they found, different nuts, different berries, and end up fucking dead because you're a fucking idiot. Right? Now, I've never been lost in the woods, but I would like for somebody to tell me what I just pointed out isn't smart. That's what I would depend on for survival. What would you do? Right? So that's what I mean. A lot of these things that people are trying to do. She since tried to recreate a discovery process and isolated images of 11 to 13 car in a Banfield. You can see it. I'm not connecting Banfield boys to the Frederick Road, but I am connecting to the times captured in those videos. Physical locates the car. 20 Author invoices made. Thompson interview. Exculpatory Moscow homicide. Yeah, all the dates all stack up. They all in the shit. And I think Papa Rogers was a policeman. I think Papa Rogers was somebody connected to the case. So they're hiding exculpatory evidence, is what you're saying, TB. That Moscow, and I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that what you're saying about what she discovered for that 11 to 13. I don't doubt that may in fact be exculpatory evidence that's being hidden. But let me just be clear. None of that matters. Brian Kohlberger has an expert witness. And he works for the FBI, to be sure. And that expert witness is solid on his description of what he found, what he identified. That's Brian's witness. Brian also has a witness, and his name is Officer Payne. Okay? And that fucking jerk off that helped do the cast report because he talked to FBI officials on the phone, he's also a witness because none of his cast work places Brian Kohlberger at that house at any time on that night or on any day prior to that night. Therefore, Officer Payne is a witness for Brian Kohlberger. Okay? And you can continue on down the list. Wasn't it in your video, Heather, where you were showing that one woman that said she had evidence in the back of her car for a month, that none of that evidence was originally put in her car? It was put in CSI vehicles, trucks, and SUVs when they emptied Brian Kohlberger's apartment. Yeah. See, I've watched some use. I like people that show facts that are direct related to what we're talking about. I know it's very interesting to try. That's why I keep saying, folks, I don't know if he did it or not. I can conjure up ways to make him a party to this crime, directly or indirectly. I can make up ways to show him as a driver. I can look at this and come up with a whole bunch of theories. But there's only one theory that matters, and it's the theory that's being brought against him in a court of law. And that's the only theory that we can verify. Even though during the process of verification, the theory falls apart, there's no other theory that's worth looking into because it's not relevant. It's like hearsay, and hearsay isn't relevant. Now, if somebody were to say that they saw Brian Kohlberger, they saw his car, Where I was standing on the corner, I saw him get out, that'd be fine. But there's no evidence that there's any witness of that. There is no tipster that I'm aware of that can make that argument. She's never brought up anything of that. There's never been an argument he was witnessed at the home. Every argument they make to place Brian Koberger at the house is exculpatory. He never responded to me, sorry. Yeah. His eyebrows are not even bushy. That's again, that's a subjective opinion. In some people's eyes, they are. In some people's eyes, they're not. But he did upload his video with him on the side of Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Won't you be my neighbor? Hi, neighbor. Remember that guy? He was funny, man, Mr. Rogers. Did you guys ever see In Living Color's rendition of Mr. Rogers in a pornography store? An adult bookstore. There's a skit about Mr. Rogers in the adult bookstore. Fucking crazy. He would recruit you, Heather. Watch out for that clan. No quarter member. No, TB, I see a whole bunch of people do have a lot of information that you can make sense out of. But the only catch, the disagreement I have with that is none of it is a party to this proceeding. Made a set that all his November videos are on set of Mr. Rogers. Soviet Moscow. Watch Cannon Press, no quarter November. That shit is funny, isn't it, Mikey? And everybody sees Mr. Rogers as the nicest, kindest, most decent human being on earth. And he's in there doing all kinds of perverted shit, stealing shit. He's got shit falling out of his pockets and they still don't see him as a criminal. They keep blaming the people around him. That is a funny ass skit. No, I listen, TB, that's again, that video then is another piece of exculpatory evidence that would go to the defense. Here's the other thing that always bothered me. And then Living Color was awesome. Go give him the link. He will like them. The 51 terabytes of data dump. And then everybody acts like, see, the problem with you doing that is I don't know why I can't click on that thing, man. For whatever reason, I click on that and it won't let me highlight. Oh, I got to go to YouTube to get it. Oh, man, I think I'm dumb. See, even I could be dumb at moments. I have my moments, right? Open link and new tab. All right. I'll save that. I said quiet there, you crazy ass stream. Just Mr. Wilson talks about bridges. You guys are crazy. Yeah, I got to be on YouTube, and I'm trying to get to it on fucking StreamYard. And she gave me another link earlier that I don't know where it is now. It's up there somewhere. That I'm trying to do something with it on StreamYard, and you just can't. What the hell? Well, we still got 92 viewers in here. That's kind of awesome. 60 of you on X. And all of you on X, you're welcome to come in here. Talk about anything. It doesn't have to be the Idaho4. But to me, the Idaho4, in a nutshell, is the epitome of the American justice system. Taylor, okay. Well, that's why they handed it over. All cut up and missing. Here's what I wanted to say, though, about the 51 terabytes. That's the most ridiculous thing. When they said that, like when they came out with 36 quadrillion, 51 terabytes. Okay. Let's suppose that that's 51 terabytes of investigative data against Brian Koberger. Let me be very, very clear here. Why didn't they have fingerprints of Koberger? Why didn't they have food containers from Koberger? Why hadn't they swabbed his apartment door? Why hadn't they gone to his college and talked with his professor that he was a student teacher for? Why didn't they do more in an investigative? Here's the word I was looking for. As they had surreptitiously obtained DNA from a cigarette filter from a suspect that was cleared. Where was their investigation on that 51 terabytes of Brian? Where? Seems to me that investigation started all out of nowhere. And then it accumulated immediately to be, that's the perp, that's the perp, that's the perp, right? No, I don't believe they did, Heather. I don't think that they did it. And this is another point that a lot of these DNA people that keep hanging their head on DNA. Let me be very, very easy here. One, the DNA was obtained under a faulty warrant because the arrest warrant is unverifiable. That's one. Okay. That's one big reason why the DNA is bullshit. And second, the DNA was manipulated by a lab. Whatever they did collect was manipulated. And because they had someone's name, wherever they had gotten that from, they then connected the manipulated sample to then build a family tree that fit Brian Koberger. And let me just finish with this. In every single case that's been overturned using transfer DNA or touch DNA, which is a bullshit fucking term, it implies you had to touch something. And that's not how it works. In every single case where other unidentified transfer DNA was discovered, every case that I've seen go to court on appeal has won the argument. Okay? That evidence of it in and of itself is not sufficient to convict a person of a crime. A very famous one, a black guy put in prison for rape because his transfer DNA was found on the woman. And there were multiple transfer DNAs found on this woman. Some of the transfer DNAs in places that most likely would be found if you raped the woman. They never identified those people. They never went, just like in the Koberger case. So there's 4 pieces of DNA, if I'm not mistaken. Take out Koberger's, there's 3 left. There's 2 of them in the vicinity of the crime and 1 outside in a glove. Okay? Where in the vicinity of that crime were those other samples taken? Why weren't they amplified? Okay? That is an immediate appealable issue. No, Dave, I'm repeating exactly what the Idaho police have told us. That they surreptitiously collected a DNA sample from a cigarette butt left by a potential suspect. And the reason I said that, Dave, is because it proves to us that they do have the fucking wherewithal to do an investigation. Where was the investigation pre-arrest on Brian Koberger? No, I understand it, Mikey. I understand it. Sigma Chi is the only frat at U of I that doesn't own their frat house. The house is a target. I don't even want to hear anything about Bubbly and all them other fucking idiots like Tommy Jude and all the other jerk-offs and all their fucking stories. I have no stomach for people like that. You can't solve this crime on your telephone or on a desktop computer. I don't give a fuck how many images you see. Not one of those images places an image of a criminal or any of the people that they're talking about in that fucking house during the time of the crime. There's only one individual that's accused of this crime. And all the information that's being thrown out by the prosecution is unverifiable data that does not place Brian Koberger in that house. So that, look, if that isn't worth looking at and getting people to stick with, all these other ideas on the outside are just, no, I know, but you're bringing up people and the things that they've seen and the images that they've got. Do any of those images connect to the crime? And the only thing I've seen you say that I think is valuable is the exculpatory nature of the 11 to 13 Elantra. Right? So I that's valuable information, that there's images of that Elantra that evening that aren't at the crime scene, which connects to the FBI's identification and makes that idea of that Elantra at that time of night in that area associated with the victims in as much as proximity, that adds to the exculpatory nature. Okay. It's not really a lot at all. Yeah. And that, I get a little stressed that people seem to, I think the facts alone tell us a story. And all the other sideshows that we have out here online, they muddle the story. I mean, there's this girl, Nika, whatever her, Nika Neuro or I don't know her name, but she comes up with all of this crazy stuff and the Bubbly Waters and the Tommies. And so many of these people come up with so many fucking possibilities of what happened here, and none of it's real. It's just like it's just a theory. Imagine if Einstein dealt with the theory of relativity at the point in time he was alive. Imagine if that's how information was used. I mean, we'd still be back in the dark ages. Chris McDonough saw it too. Yeah, no, I don't doubt that there's another Elantra in that neighborhood. I know for sure, based on what I've seen. I say with confidence that there's two Elantras. One's an 11 to 13, and the other's a 14 to 16. I'm confident that the police identified two separate vehicles. Unfortunately for them, the 11 to 13 was identified at the crime scene. And here's the problem they have. And I brought this up earlier, but I'm going to go full circle. If a car was involved in this crime, Dylan Mortensen makes it the 11 to 13. Okay? Her testimony, the downloads of her phones, are 100% evidence that you can make the reasonable argument that that car entered the area at exactly the right time, at 4:07, and entered that house, committed these crimes, and then spun off at 4:20 a.m., as stated in the PCA. Okay? Dylan Mortensen's testimony about what she did that night, about what time, the fact that a DoorDash delivery happened around that time, the fact that Zaina was on the phone at 4:12 a.m., the downloads of Dylan and Bethany's phones, all make that car a connectable piece to that puzzle. I find that to be a solid piece of investigative work. I don't have any fucking question about that stuff connecting, because sensibly it does. But it ain't Brian's car. There's only one problem with all of that. It clearly isn't Brian's car. Yeah, Heather's paid a lot of attention to this. Heather, you're very smart. You're able to remember things and connect dots and give a good analysis of the information. That's what I try to do. I know I'm a lot more passionate than probably I need to be. That's just how I am when it comes. I mean, you guys, if you guys saw the stuff I study and the stuff I look into, you'd be like, dude, you're crazy. You need to find a hobby. And I do have a hobby. I have a race car hobby, but I've always been enamored by knowledge. If there was anything in the world that ever really tickled my fancy more than anything else, it's been knowledge, with sex running a close second. Okay? But I just love knowledge, and I love to understand the theories of what all these scientists have put in front of us and where it's going. There's I forget the scientist's name, but I kept it for a while. I wanted to play it on a stream. Weissman is his name. I think his name is Weissman. And he said in words what I feel every day. And I feel that we're on the verge of leaving Einsteinian physics behind. Einsteinian physics is a term used among some of the intellectuals. We live in the time of Einsteinian physics. Einstein's theory of relativity, Einstein's theory of gravity, right? And Weissman says, and I agree with this so wholeheartedly, that we're on the cusp of making another step forward. That there's another level of physics that we're going to enter into, and it's going to blow our fucking minds. I think that that's accurate. You know why I think that's accurate? Because now you're seeing all over the place continual mention, continual talk, some of it fake, some of it real, of resonance. To me, I agree with Nikola Tesla. Science has always been focused on the particle rather than on the energy that makes the particle a particle. Where does that energy come from? He referred to it as the ether. But everything resonates, folks. You know, I mean, that's a whole other stream. I could get into this and just, I don't even know. It'd be nice to have someone up here that actually gets into some of this stuff, to have a conversation with them. Everything resonates, folks. What causes the resonance? Where does that come from? Right? And that's really, I'm on a much lower level with Heather's mind. I don't try. I just agree. I do that with them. But there's one thing that Heather has given me or said that I found anyone or anything that can prove she is wrong. No, I don't suspect the stuff that she's pointing out. Like I used a video to show you. If that person walking towards Dylan was 5'10", then she should have noticed a huge discrepancy when they stepped down. So let's put him at 5'10". You're going to add 5 or 6 inches to him walking towards you from the living room. The minute he stepped down and started heading to the sliding rear door, his real height should have came back to you. He should have been 5'6", 5'7", 5 foot. He should have been shorter than her. She's 5'10". So I've always had a problem with Dylan's story. There's that's that, and again, like I was just pointing out, her story makes a vehicle in that area relevant, potentially relevant to that crime. Dude, FIBA show on it. I'll be here. I shouldn't understand what you were saying, but I do. Listen, that Tesla was onto it, man. He really was. There's I was talking to somebody that gets into this stuff, and I said, listen, I've said this before, I'll say it again. And if you all think I'm nuts, that's perfectly fine. I could very well be crazy. I could be crazy, but I suspect, folks, I suspect this to be real. Everything around you, we collectively create through our conscious thoughts. Okay? Everything that I know and everything that you know and everything that we know, okay, were things that were given to us from, and we're in this box. We're all in the same box. I suspect that humanity's consciousness is what they're trying to hide from us. What the big secret, I think, is mind over matter is real. And I think part of the big secret is that massive amount of minds over matter is real. When they say that we're in a simulation, you can make the argument that we're in a simulation, and you can make a very strong argument. But what they never really tell you is that simulation is created by us. There isn't a third party creating this reality. We do. We do. That's the uniqueness to the resonance and to the science that resonance will take you. They don't want you to know, as you were told by many, many scholars of religion, many of those people, they were called the Son of God or the Buddha or the Allah, or we're trying to tell you. Okay? And the most simplest terms are, you have little faith, you can move mountains with it. You have little faith, you can move mountains with faith. Okay? The host jumped off a cliff is what happened here, TV. I suggest to you that if you were able to birth children and put them in environments where their observation of you is you flying, not walking, not running, not crawling, you flying, that it wouldn't take long, okay, for the human mind to create a reality under which we fly without an airplane, without wings. Okay? That's what I think they're hiding from us. I don't think that they needed a machine to carve those stones, to move those stones. I don't think that they needed that at all. I think that they needed a group of people to believe that that was something that they wanted to do, that there was something they didn't even question their capability of it. They just could do it. And I think these buildings that were built all across the globe, these big giant pyramids, these structures that are mind-boggling to us, weren't done with sophisticated science. They were done with sophisticated thought based on the power of belief. And that's why I keep attacking people. You can't believe in man's information. You cannot believe in data. You can't believe, for instance, that the Elantra on that camera over by the Banfield is connected to this crime. It's okay to have that knowledge, but you can't turn that knowledge into something that you can't connect the dots on. And when you can't connect the dots directly, you just believe that it's true. That's what they've taught us to do. They've taught us to believe in man's information. Like You'll see in a lot of those folks that vote Democrat, you'll see that sign in the yard. We believe in science. No, you stupid motherfucker. Science is the art of questioning. Science is there to question everything. And science, once it comes to a conclusion, must be able to repeat that conclusion in order for it to be accepted science. Accepted. Not believed in, but accepted. Why only accepted? Because other data or other information or other scientific discoveries may show you that your accepted understanding of this particular theory is wrong. That's why you never believe in science. You accept the results of the science thus far. And you're always got to be willing, and this comes into everything you do in daily life. You always have to be willing to question. There's never settled science. Einsteinian physics is not settled. The theory of gravity is called the theory of gravity because they really don't know what gravity is. It's not settled. Do you know that light can travel the same, two different distances? One light beam can travel two different, in a curve. On the inside of a circle is a shorter distance than the outer rim. But do you know that light travels the exact same speed, even though it only has one speed it can travel at? In other words, if you turn a flashlight on in space and the curvature of space curves light, that light will end up at from point A to point B. Both the inside and outside edge of that light will show up at the same time. Why isn't light altered by distance? In other words, if you got to go 100 miles with light on the top and 99.4 miles on the bottom, why isn't the bottom light hitting it first? That's a puzzling question, right? But that's how it works. Why? That's the kind of stuff that I study and get into. That's why when I look at something as simple as a court case, when I read the PCA, when I look at what they're alleging Brian Kohlberger did, nothing in it made sense. And I'm talking about just basic sense, not theoretical physics, just basic sense. Like, okay, you got him at 247, you got him at 448. Where is he in between? We don't know. Okay, then that's fucking useless, right? And back to the idea of believe. If you believe that means he was in that area, that's the wrong approach. That's not thinking. You're surrendering your capacity to think when you believe in man's information. I don't care who this, don't believe anything I say. Question it, right? Yeah, I don't like Neil deGrasse. Neil deGrasse reminds me of Bill Nye the Science Guy. In as much as Neil deGrasse does have a lot of information, and he is a very smart man, but he also, I think, has his own particular beliefs and motives that I think sways him to look at something a certain way, and he won't change it. He won't question it. Yeah. Everything down to organized religion. Everything is a form of control. It is. It's a choose your adventure book. There's nothing in it to be believed. That's why I don't like getting into he could have made a U-turn, right? Or you don't know that he wasn't there. No, I do know that he wasn't there. I know for an absolute fact that Brian Kohlberger wasn't at that house based on what the cops have told me. That's the only information I have to put him in that house, folks. I don't give a fuck what you people have seen on videos or what kind of theories you've come up with. You're an ignorant motherfucker for doing it, in my opinion. You know when his phone supposedly turned off? Okay? You know when his phone turned on. And both of those locations were not near that house. You're making a leap of faith. Then the cops told you his car was circling that house. Well, that's not what the FBI is telling us. The FBI is very, very fucking consistent. Right? Very consistent. That car was in love. They came out on December 7th, 2022. And asked the public to help them find a 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra because the person or passengers in that vehicle may have seen something. They came out and connected that car to that crime. And then later, it came out with no evidence, with no explanation, with nothing, that Brian Kohlberger was the criminal and he drives a 2015 Elantra. And what people did that believe in information, because you believe what you're told, because for whatever reason, you don't have the capacity to draw the fucking line. I want to know exactly how you went from an 11 to 13, how you sent the public looking for this kind of a car, that make, model, year, okay? Erroneously, only later to find out it was a 14 to 15. How did you come to that? They never gave us that, folks. That means you now have two cars. You have two cars. That's how I interpreted what they were sharing with us. I didn't interpret, well, they must have made a mistake. No. No, the only way you can come to that conclusion if you believe that Kohlberger did it. If you believe the cops did everything right. If you believe, then you become a knucklehead. You become a complete knucklehead. Okay? Or how about those that don't believe Brian did it? Here's a group of fucking people that are even worse. Right? They come up with all these pictures and all of these images and all of this different information to prove he didn't do it. You got all the proof you need that you can't show he did it. The idea that you could prove he didn't do it is another fucking idiot fucking game because you're believing in information that you shouldn't be believing in. You have no fucking right to believe in information that you collect. Listen, I still don't believe that light travels the exact same 2 different distances and arrives at one point at the same time. I have a hard time accepting that. I don't believe it. And I'm actually doing a lot of research. In my other computer, in my other room, there's information waiting for me to go back to look at that. Now, that's not stuff you're interested in, but I am. I know that if I drive 100 miles an hour at 100 miles, it'll be an hour. If I drive 100 miles an hour to go 94.2 miles, I'm going to get there before the other car gets there at the 100 miles an hour. You see, it's a shorter distance, right? How can light arrive at the same fucking 2 different places that are 2 different distances apart? And they hit at the same fucking time. How's that work? We already know light only goes a certain speed, 189,000 miles a second, like approximately, right? How the fuck does that happen? You see, that's the catch-22. So when you get into these streams where you're trying to prove him innocent or guilty, you're just going down to fucking clickbait fucking shit, as far as I'm concerned. I don't mind having a discussion with people as long as they have facts that are relevant. But when your facts step outside of what we actually are working with, right? I know you're still talking about an Elantra. I know what you're saying. What you said about that car can be added to the story as an exculpatory piece of evidence, right? As to whether it is the car that was on King at the crime scene, that would have to be determined by the expert, the FBI that identified the first vehicle. Right? So if the FBI agent can identify a peculiarity, something unique to the vehicle, then okay. 2 cars, 2 Patsies. I don't know who the second Patsy is, though. Who's the second Patsy, TB? Yeah. I think too, it's besides, don't bother going to Zabgirl about the car video and reason, because it's impossible to find through the hundreds of videos I like. Do you think any of the FBI agents, they're going to have to testify? You can't, and that's the other thing too, is I think that's the game that the prosecution's going to play. Is they're not going to want to call the FBI witness. Ann Taylor's going to have to. Go back and put my comments together on one piece of paper. Yeah, okay. That's what I'll spend the rest of my night doing. What are you on? Nutcase TB. I follow along with a bunch of the stuff you said. And I think some observations from some of these videos, they may play a practical role in the exculpatoriness of what the police are alleging. But in no way, shape, or form do they prove that he didn't do it. And even the exculpatory nature of the PCA, even the arguments that Ann's making, if she's right on all of these arguments, doesn't mean he didn't do it. Right? There's no way to know. And I've said this so many times, I'm tired of saying it. The only thing we do know is that he didn't do it the way they alleged in the PCA. And if he didn't do it that way, if the PCA shows that he didn't do it based on those facts that they claim are facts, then you should never have gotten warrants. You should have solidified your case before you started going for DNA and everything else. You should have checked his car. You should have checked his apartment. You should have done all of that. You went to the trouble to go to Pennsylvania to get a garbage bag that didn't even have Kohlberger's DNA in it. I don't understand that. That drives me crazy. You follow this guy across the country. You've been watching him. That's where your 51 terabytes comes from. An investigation only after they identified him. Only after they told the fucking lab they were looking for this guy. Does this guy fit that profile? After all of that, then they show all of this fucking. But where's the link to Koberger in the house? Where's the link to Koberger in the crime? Where's the link to Koberger in the weapon? Where's the link? It gets crazy. It's crazy. That stuff should have been assembled long before they arrested Brian Koberger. They had their eyes on him. They watched him jogging around Pennsylvania. That's another reason why they broke into that house. There's other reasons. See, police and these agencies, folks, your law and order, your justice system is in a fucking tragic mess. Justice is in a tragic. One of the messes is that we've all been taught to believe something. Not God, not creation, none of that. You've been told not to believe that. They never thought that global interest would be what it is. Still, they hope all will go away and boot into something new. Maybe. That's not what, I don't believe that was their motive at all. I don't even want to subscribe motive to why they put this case together the way they put that together, except to point out that this is happening all over the United States. Look what they did to Donald Trump in New York City. They had no fucking right. They're trying to find this guy $500 million fucking dollars. Nobody was robbed. Nobody complained. Everybody continued to do business with him. Nothing he did could be called a lie or deceitful. His disclosures said, my property's worth $100. However, it's upon you to evaluate the value of my collateral before approving this loan. It's in fucking writing. And the banks agreed to that. They accepted his evaluations. You can get 5 different appraisals on your house and get 5 different fucking values. I promise you, and I did this when I got my car appraised. My car's appraised if it's a complete wreck, how much they're going to pay me. Right? I got different appraisals from different people. I took the highest appraisal and went to the fucking insurance company with it. Am I doing something wrong? No, that's legal. Your justice system is in shambles. Not just at the federal level, but in your own local areas. It's in fucking shambles. Prosecutors are trained to get the numbers up. 98% of the cases are plea bargained. They're not brought to court. These guys really thought, and I bet you they'll go to their grave thinking, Koberger's the perp. I don't know that he's the perp. They don't know, but they believe he is. This is why believing in information is listen, that's one thing we were told. I don't know if any of you are religious. How did we fall from the grace of God? Huh? Did we eat from the fucking tree of knowledge? Huh? I don't know anybody in here is religion, but what is the story of creation? Right? Didn't Eve have him eat from the apple? The original sin, wasn't that about knowledge? That to me is the most accurate description of the world we live in. That we started to believe in our own knowledge. We started to learn to understand things, and then we started to believe in each other. And you know what? The thing that really drives me nuts is, to every last one of you out here, you'll all agree that the biggest change between childhood and adulthood is you become a fucking liar. You become a holder of secrets, of personal secrets, and a liar. And you mingle around other liars. How many times you called into work and you shouldn't have? Come on. That's what the difference between childhood, right? The innocence and the wonderment. When you go from that to adulthood, the biggest change is you become a fucking liar. Not to say I'm innocent. I'm not casting a stone from, I live in a glass fucking house. If I'm throwing a stone at you, trust me, it's shattering my own fucking glass before it heads your way. That is the fucking truth. How did that happen? How is it that when you go to get your oil changed, if the guy brings a bucket of oil over to your vehicle, how do you know that vehicle, that oil in that bucket is consistent with the manufacturer's recommendation? You don't. He does. The guy bringing you the oil does. And if it isn't the right oil and you're on his lift, he's going to pour it in your fucking engine anyway. You should have 0W30. He's going to put in 10W40. How the fuck are you going to know? And we live in a world built on that. That's the difference between childhood. Now, some kids, for whatever reason, maybe their parents are just genetic marker. They're genetically marked to be liars, and these little kids come out lying right from the beginning. But the kids do sense that if they do something they're not supposed to do, they need to hide it from you. We teach these kids, we teach our children this, and our children then begin to lie, right? And some of the things that we do help perpetuate that. I think Christmas is a wonderful holiday. I really don't think that we should pretend that some guy comes down the chimney. But that's me. That's just my opinion. But there's the beginning of adulting your children. I think some things should be kept away from children when it comes to all of this craziness with the, like LGBTQ plus. Is plus just a fucking higher level of being gay? What is the plus? I don't know what the plus is. That stuff should be kept away from the information the child is exposed to when they're in their developmental years prior to puberty, right? So my point is that we live in a reality that we all participate in because we've all been given this reality and we just keep perpetuating it. That's why I say, I think the holiday of Christmas cheer and Christmas giving amongst man, all of that stuff, fantastic. I think making something fun, maybe a little bit, okay. But it was devastating when I found out there was no such thing as Santa Claus. Right? And then you walk around acting like you know something, other kids your age don't. And for whatever reason, any work that the FAR labs they partner would do should never be allowed to be called in as a tip. I agree with you, Heather. I think that's one way of avoiding the constitutional limits that the government is not supposed to cross. I've been listening to maybe 90 minutes. I never heard anything about this case. No, nothing about the case. But Sarge brings up exactly the holes I would find as a juror. I'd love to be a juror on this case based on what I've heard. Yeah, I would too. And I certainly hope they get jurors that don't get their head stuck up their ass and they just believe in shit. They believe, why would they have charged them? You don't charge somebody if there's unbelievable. A few of those most our liars are just self-centered. Santa is hope and spirit. Give positive to get positive. I think so, but I'm using that as an early example of how we're cultivated to accept. Because sometimes a lie is a good thing, right? We've been taught that. White lies, right? Not for anything, but I think one of the famous things that Ben Franklin said that most people don't even know he said was, if you want to cure poverty, shame those people. Don't feed them, shame them. Same thing with lying, folks. You got to be felt like as an outcast. And you're going to change to be a part of the circle or you're not. And if you don't, you're going to end up in all kinds of chaos, right? Big Dumbo balloons that they were parade around like big dummies at Macy's. Yeah, I think, listen, I think the whole concept of Christmas is great, but I don't think that I think that the idea that one man, it's possible, or St. Nick or somebody created this holiday at some point. I almost think that that's the way it should be sold to the children. And that we as parents thought his idea was so great that we now do it every year. Right? What's the harm in doing that? What's the harm in you wouldn't have to change any of your holiday decorations? Santa Claus could still be. But I think that's maybe, isn't that really the story that we were told? That this tradition was started by somebody named St. Nick? Right? And is that a true story or not? I don't know. Is that a lie? I'd have to research. But that's what I remember. So what would be the harm in not telling children that this guy comes down your chimney? Right? How many kids live in apartments with no chimneys? Right? I'm just saying that's really the transformation. For whatever reason, we accept the reality under which lying has become acceptable, and our belief isn't in each other and our amazing consciousness that other creatures on the planet don't have. They can emulate, they do certain things that we do. But I don't know, was the last time you seen a fucking bear build a fucking hut? When's the last fucking time? Yeah, there's animals out there that use rocks to crack the shells of crabfish or something. Okay, but there's beavers that build a dam and they put their fucking place underneath it, right? But where are their power tools? Where are their fucking buildings? Where are their roads? Where are their thought about what's going on in space and looking up to where is that in the other animals on Earth? There isn't. We have that, right? You know, we are an extraordinarily unique being, each and every one of us. And I honestly believe, I honestly think, based on what I've seen in my life and the research and studying that I've done, that the biggest secret that's kept from us is a secret about what we're really capable of as a group. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of downside to it. Right? There's a whole downside to that. That it's fun, right? But I honestly think that even if there wasn't a Saint Nick, right? Even if there wasn't, even if this holiday was just made up by some retailer, let's just say that the retailer's made up. It's fine. I still don't think that it's a bad holiday. I think it's awesome. You get a tree, you get each other gifts, and you express your love and your right with your family. Or even less. No gifts, no tree. You just sit down to have a dinner that day. Or you spend your whole week of that holiday smiling and saying hi to. I mean, there's a trillion things, uncountable amount of things you could do for that holiday to maintain its magical and warmness. The lying about Santa Claus, I don't think is fucking necessary. And the idea that it doesn't cause, I think that sets us forward. As I said before, everything you see and everything you touch and everything you hear and everything you know is orchestrated. You don't have any control over it. It's very difficult to think outside of the box because all we know comes from the box, right? Not believing in Christmas doesn't separate you from the box because now you've got something not to believe in. And therefore, you're part of the box. You're not watching the mainstream media doesn't mean a fucking thing because you're out here listening to people like me. Right? Fortunately for you, I don't play the mainstream media game. I don't need your money. I don't want your money. I have a particular way of seeing things, and I try to keep everything fact-based as best as I possibly can. Do I fucking come up short? Yes. But for me, I want to know the facts. You know? And I think we'd all be better for it. Look at that. Whoa, look who came in. Listen here, Slim. Be talking that shit. How come you were Cletus? You guys are what? Allergic to coming in here? Try talking to you. I try talking to 12 Gauge. Try talking to Dago. Try talking to Twist. None of you talk back to me on fucking on Discord. Put down the fucking box of fucking cookies and come and say hello. Come spread the shit. Come spread the cheer. Do something. Keep trying to make people dumber. That's why college is so dangerous. College only shows your willingness, and then they train you to conform. College is not an education in as much as some of the stuff that I've discussed and shared. Education and smarts are your capacity and your desire to want to understand something, at least to the best of the information available to you. And then you don't believe it. Right? You accept that those are the results of the information you collect, and then you move on. And then someday you'll come across something and you're like, whoa, listen, there was a time I thought DNA was as powerful as a fingerprint. There was a time I didn't know that there was many different kinds of DNA. I didn't know. You know, I didn't know what I know now. Today is Sebastian Rogers' 16th birthday. Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff that's come up lately with that, but I wonder, and that's why it'd be nice if Clue or Cletus came in. It wouldn't hurt to expand what we know about little Sebastian. I would like to have some fill in. I got some questions I'd like to have answered. Okay, no singing when I click add to stage. Okay. What up, boy?
What's happening, Pops?
What you be doing down there?
Nothing right now.
Listen, I got a question for you.
I'm being interrupted is what the fuck I'm doing.
I got a question for you. This is an important question. This is an important question.
What's your question?
You and Clue are going to get married, right?
So she says.
All right. So here's the question, chat room. Pay close attention to the words of this question. Once you're married, God forbid you got divorced, would you still be brother and sister? Oh shit! I've been waiting forever to ask you that question.
Oh, that's fucking fun.
Oh man! All right, the floor is yours.
Oh, well, hello, floor. What am I supposed to do with the floor? Walk on it?
That's part of what people do. Yeah.
What the fuck you up here talking about? How come you're
Everything.
too good to text me a link? What the fuck?
I did on Discord. She was on Discord.
I ain't got Discord. She's got Discord.
Oh, well, I sent the link and everything there.
Oh.
You guys, did anybody, a number one, if you thought that question I asked Cletus was funny? Just a number one. There's no option for it not to be.
Number one. That shit was good.
That was good, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So what's going on with Sebastian Rogers?
I mean, in terms of the finding him and getting closer, from what I can see, not a lot of getting closer. I mean, we've been out there for a couple of days and with SF and trying to do what we can. And I got
what's SF?
Steve Fisher. He's we've been out there with him for a couple of days, and I mean, I got every bit of confidence in him. But I don't know if he's getting any closer or not. But other than that, in terms of the social media aspect, it's just the same shit as any other case. A bunch of fucking craziness.
What are these? I've heard something about pictures and are there sightings of this gentleman, this young kid? Is there pictures of this young kid somewhere that isn't there?
These fucking ass clowns have been running with this goddamn narrative of this guy in a green hoodie was at the Texas Roadhouse and blah blah blah, and so Steve Fisher decided it pertinent to put that out last night. The pictures of him presenting the interaction without actually putting the video that these fucking asshats kept talking about to show people that, quit fucking believing in information.
The same thing I preach, right?
Yeah, basically to show them, like, look, you're chasing a fucking distraction that these people are purposely using to gain notoriety off of bullshit. Like, they're getting your attention through bullshit, and you're all fucking buying it and not demanding fucking receipts. You're just trusting that they're telling you something that's pertinent. And then when they get proven wrong, they distract you with something else, and you just keep chasing them. So that's
the problem with that belief. I was just talking about that. I don't know if you heard any of that, but it's insane.
Yeah.
People believe that here's another real stick it up your ass moment, right? So people believe that generic food is made by the same manufacturers as the same food as the brand name food. Okay. But you better go look at the fucking label. You may find out that isn't true. But people, in other words, they accept a common thought or a common commonality with others, and they believe it.
Yeah.
But you should read the can. Read what's in the fucking can of corn. Is this any different? Is it GMO corn? Why is it cheaper? It used to be exactly what I said. It started out as a little history on that. The grocery stores rented shelves. They didn't sell product. They made their money from the shelf being restocked. You follow me?
Yeah.
So Green Giant would rent the space of a shelf. And as their product was expanded or more sold, they'd rent more shelf. Well, stores they wanted to argue to sell their own product. And that's where the generic label became a part of it. And what they would do is they would contact, or they would do business with Hershey's, and they do business with whatever fucking company was making the product they wanted to put, like General Mills made cornflakes. So General Mills would make the cornflake for the store under a different name. Same product. That's how it started, right? It's not like that anymore. So grabbing the generic food, you might be poisoning yourself for all the fuck you know, because you've come to believe that. You formed this ability not to ask yourselves questions. You don't question anything anymore. That's the problem with belief, is it removes a human's ability to question things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I go a little too far. I question everything. Right? I mean, I'm a nutcase that way, but I'm the extreme.
Especially today, right? Like, I mean, it's like we've become fucking just dependent upon misinformation. That when real information exists, we either don't give a fuck about it or consider it misinformation.
Right. Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
The truth doesn't even get its shoe on before the lie has circled the globe 1 trillion fucking times.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The truth hasn't even sat up in bed, not even awake yet. Doesn't even know it's in need because nobody asks for the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean when I say to folks, you don't listen to mainstream media. You come out here and you let streamers like me do the same thing to you the media's doing. They sell you a narrative.
Yeah.
Right? It's factual, it's truth or falsehood. You stop questioning them too. You question the media, but then you forget and you stop coming in here. You should still question everything you hear in these rooms, whether it's mine, yours, anybody's, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking crazy. But so, is there a photo or something that shows his kid okay somewhere else, or is he? Somebody said like, was it? Who's the guy with the roosters there? Elevated Truth.
Yeah.
Fathead there. Is there pictures of this kid connected to some institution or some school or?
Not that I've seen, no. No, I mean there's a lot of little tidbits of information that have come out, but in terms of anything really big, no. And I mean anything current, no. And it's it's all a bunch of stuff that doesn't really lead anywhere, and I don't know.
Well, I do pop into your stream, her Clue stream. I pop into a lot of streams. I try to just put it on the background and listen to hear if there's anything new being said.
There's a lot of new stuff being talked about, right? But that the the family was in talks of there was discussion as a potential solution to some some things with a school, right? Sending them to a school, but it was just that. It was just talks, right? And the problem with it is that information was put out there to show that, hey, all 3 of these parents are just that. They're parents, and they were working together. It's not about the root of the fucking issue that they were working together to solve. It's that they were working together, and that shit has been fucking taken and ran with. Just like this green hoodie guy, right? In the Texas Roadhouse. All these people are running with, this has got to be something, connected. The mom fucking coordinated with this guy and this and that. And it's like, none of you have a fucking thing other than the presentation of information spun in a fucking way that supports whatever the creator is trying to promote. And it's ultimately not promoting anything to try and bring him home. They're pushing a narrative that they think is going to make them more money.
Yeah, it's always about the fucking pennies, ain't it?
Yeah.
And that's what it is, right? It's like a penny a customer you get.
Yeah. I mean, it even got to the point where I think it was yesterday. So we've been in the neighborhood, and Steve is a PI, and he's got every fucking right to go around and knock on doors and ask people, hey, have you seen this? Or just talk to them. And I guess it got back to the fucking dickheads that are out here putting all this crazy shit out, and so they make a post saying that we're walking around the neighborhood intimidating people. And I'm like, yeah, why don't you fucking come down here and let's walk together.
Yeah.
How about that?
Walk a mile in our shoes and see how intimidating we are when we get home with sore feet, you fucking idiot. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's perplexing. It's a tragedy that and that's kind of why I don't come out so much as I and then when I do, I'm out here for hours. But I'm just so overwhelmed with the stupidity of us all. I mean, you go into the politics and you hear all of this shit. Well, I don't know. If you elected a guy that you think is really going to change the fucking world, why aren't we doing things to help?
Yeah.
Instead, you're posting memes about how the fucking Democrats were upset and how crazy they are and how It's like, wait a minute. There's things that that need to change, and yet we're aware of them, but we don't want to talk or do anything about them. That's Trump's job. It's like I just don't get it, man.
Well, and I will say, right, like so today's Sebastian's 16th birthday, right, and it's one of those things where it's like we've been out there, and we went out there again tonight for a little bit to do some things, and it's amazing how productive we can be with just putting the smallest effort toward actually doing something and turning away from the social media aspect.
You know what I would, and I should have said this a long time ago because I've thought about it 1,000 times, and I've never remembered. You know that you think something and you think it's something good, but you never remember to say it when you should say it, right? Has there any databases? Has there been anything requested of his picture, an investigator or a private investigator or a cop or somebody to run this kid's image across the database files they have of airports, of points of entry? Has there been anybody even looked into? Is that possible to do that? I don't know that it is, but it seems like it may be. Was he removed? Was he taken out of the country? Was he, right? Did he cross a border? Did he cross into Mexico or Canada? Was he accompanied by an adult somewhere? I mean, is that even something that could be searched? I would think it could be. And listen, here's the best part. If it isn't being searched, then they need to set up a fucking system to do that for missing children, right?
I think there's a lot more capabilities than what we even fucking realize that are at our disposal that most people don't even fucking know about. And that's just shit that I've seen lately. I think it absolutely exists. And it's crazy that, they're like in the true crime community alone, or the number of people that follow missing cases, right? The tools that are out there that we have no fucking idea about because none of us ever take the time to actually put forth an effort in doing something productive. We just turn on from one YouTube channel to the next. And it is really eye-opening to see how much shit there is out there at our disposal.
Right. I'm sure my thought that I just spit out is it may be available to law enforcement. It may be available to private investigators. It may not be. But there may be something as potent or powerful as that. But to me, if you're looking for a missing person, it would seem, especially a child in today's world where sex trafficking is the largest grossing industry on the planet, right?
Yeah.
It would seem to me that there should be something in place keeping fucking track of how many kids are crossing the border, and there be, that database be held. That's the problem with the world today. Everybody's a fucking scumbag. But, the database of children crossing borders should be held indefinitely. And if there's a report of a missing child, you should do a facial recognition through that database. And only when there's a report of a missing child. No one, you don't want people going there masturbating the fucking kids because there are fucks like that out there. And they do have jobs they shouldn't have, right?
Yeah.
But, we have the capacity for so much good and the abilities are there already. And, I don't know. Maybe that's an intrusion on people's rights or something. I don't know. But if they're able to take images of you crossing the border, like I got a ticket by some fucking camera, I mean, you can get a picture of me in the truck, and you can see the truck going plate on the truck. I mean, if you can get that kind of image to write me a fucking ticket to give me a fine, then we have the infinite capacity to identify people, right?
Yeah.
And it should be for good as much as it is for, someone speeding.
Money.
It's crazy. So what'd you guys do for Turkey Day?
We ate ham. That's what we did for Turkey Day. What'd you do for Turkey Day?
I ate steak.
For your birthday.
I love steak.
You ate a steak. Oh, there you go.
I got it. I bought some, they're called, I forget. It's a pork chop, but it's the way they call it, it's like a ribeye cut pork chop or something. It's got some fucking fancy name that comes from that wild fork.
Yeah.
And so I've been cooking the pork chops, but then making spaghetti and sauce and putting the pork in the sauce.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. 3 days in a row. I must have eaten 2 pounds of spaghetti. 2 pounds of pork chops, man. I gotta run. I ran out of pork chops before I ran out of spaghetti, so now I gotta switch off to something else.
Oh fuck, that's funny. That's funny.
Kara Kernoodle said the space station can see who went into that house and did this. I'm not so sure that that's accurate. I mean, because you're trying to zoom into a point, like trying to read a newspaper at night or a license plate at night from 25,000 miles in space. I'm sure the capacity exists, but I don't think that it exists 24/7. Torella TB is making that comment about seeing from space what happened around that house. Remember, we already had that talk about space, right?
Mm.
The Chinese eye in the sky, the fucking images, the reflections, the Fight Club in the garage. Remember that?
Yeah.
In our early streams, we were talking about that.
Fuck, it was said the other day by the same fucking just nut job fucking outfit that was talking about this green hoodie guy in Sebastian's case. They literally posted the other day that they were working with they named the organization that they were working with that is a satellite company, right? Or they put satellites in the fucking air. And the company themselves replied and said, "We don't even have our first fucking satellite in the air yet." And I'm like, "Yep, well, this has officially become an Idaho4 case with somebody that's actually got everybody's fucking attention. They have become the fucking clown. What was his name?
Bozo.
Crime Circus.
Oh yeah, Drip Drop. What's his
Drip
name?
Drop. Yeah, they've become Drip Drop of.
I used to call him TikTok.
They've become Drip Drop of this case.
They got tunnels under that house with surveillance cameras.
I'm waiting for it. I know it's coming.
Listen, that Hyundai Elantra, that specific gear has the capacity to tunnel and just jump up in a fucking neighborhood for Idaho Hills. Just out of it went from Washington, it tunneled under Idaho and popped up and fucking there it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's Brian
Yep.
Colbert.
Yep.
It was only available in that car with a certain radio. We live in some fucked up times, man, when it comes to the dealing of information is like, you ever hear that song Sunscreen?
Don't know that I have.
I propose it. I suspect everybody should listen to this on Sunscreen. I'd play it, but they probably would swat my fucking 2.5 hour fucking video right off the air. Right? 2.5 hours of my documented like gone. Because YouTube, the fucking censors of the world, these scumbags. And here's the worst thing. Look, I don't care who's right or wrong in any of these particular topics, like when it comes to the illness that we all had to survive. But I do care that when we do know, that gets as much attention as when we didn't know. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like this. It's like everybody's watching a football game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 10 seconds or 10 minutes before the end of the fucking fourth quarter, both teams and all the spectators just get up and leave. That's what life is like sometimes. I mean, you're going to feed me all of this fucking nightmarish shit, right?
Uh-huh.
And then what happened? Where did it go? What did we save? No. We killed millions of fucking people worldwide. The only place we didn't kill millions of people worldwide were the places that refused to take our advice. Huh. That's a little staggering. I wonder why that is. Oh, well, let's move on. Next. It's insane the shit we deal with as humans. I don't know. And this poor Sebastian, like that's what I said. He's either deceased or he went on his own, never to come back. He may show up one day. But
he might.
I was hearing from I was in the Rooster Guys show there. And they were talking about what we talked about in the beginning, that he was fed up with his family. And he just went off. It just was like, enough's enough. And he took off because they were going to put him with his dad, or they're going to put him in some special school, or right? Remember when we were,
yeah.
That's always been a possibility to me. Everything is possible. Aliens, I don't even believe in them, but okay. I mean, I can't disprove or prove one way or the other, but that's as likely as Katie did it, Chris did it, Seth did it, Joe did it, Bob did it. We don't know.
Right.
And looking for him is the best thing that we can do. And I don't know. other than that, it comes to a point where other issues in the world are going to come forward, and that's going to lose. And I said this before. I think we talked about where maybe these parents are at odds intentionally to keep the attention on the missing child, right? I don't know that that's true, but even though these are all shit shows talking about guys in a green jacket, it's still exposing people to the missing child.
Yeah, but I don't know. I've heard that a lot, right? That but they're still spreading his name, and that's still good. And I get the sentiment there, but I don't think it necessarily. I think the sentiment is all it is, because if you look at the reality of it, all that we're doing is promoting the same level of fuckery that we've come to expect. Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna watch this, and I'm gonna put this show out, and because I put this kid's picture, this kid's name out, that's doing good for his case. And I think the reality is it's not. I think the content itself fucking absolutely matters.
There you go.
Because,
like I say about the Idaho4 and the other stuff I've looked into, it's the verifiable information that matters, not the woulda, coulda, shoulda, maybe if.
Well, I mean, you think about, like, we'll take what I was talking about a minute ago. These fucking idiots put out this post saying that, we're intimidating people in the fucking neighborhood, right? Well, one of the people that was with us went and asked several of them, did you feel intimidated? He's very self-conscious about shit like that. And they're like, no, what the fuck? But it's like, when you think about that, right? If somebody we hadn't talked to saw that could get them to not want to fucking talk, right? Which could damage things, because, I mean, quite frankly, we're out there fucking honestly trying to find this kid, trying to find out information to fucking help locate him. And you got these fucking people trying to counteract that. And it's like that. It's not just good to put his name out. You got to be mindful of what the fuck you're saying. Just like with the Idaho4 case.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think a lot of people create all of these different topics for their own benefit, knowing people are going to come view it. Yeah. And that to me makes you a scumbag.
Yeah.
Come on. There's so many more worthwhile things you could do, and there's so many worthwhile things you can engage your audience to get to do with you. But nobody with these big followings have any interest in that at all. None. But yet they'll spend the time bringing up the green hoodie guy. This fucking guy is going into a fucking establishment to eat. What's he got to do with it? He walked by them, so therefore he needs to be investigated. Are you out of your fucking mind?
Right. That's
crazy.
Yeah. It's fucking absurd. I mean, it's I don't know. And but it's not. I can't even say that it's absurd or that I'm shocked by it. I think what I'm shocked by more than anything is the fact that twice now they've pushed this fucking narrative and immediately been discredited in, and nobody is discrediting them, or nobody that's following them is waking up to it, right? They attack the actual information that discredits the people that they believe in. It's insanity. It's like we refuse to look at the truth when it's shown to us.
Yeah, well, it's like those that believe college is beneficial and those that believe it's not. And they're both right. It's like those that believe in global warming, those that believe they're not. Well, they're both right. But the problem is neither one of these dumb fucks are going to actually look into it to understand where their common ground lies.
Right.
That's all thinking does for you. That's what communication's supposed to do. I think every single thing that's being done is awesome. Yet it's used for nefarious reasons. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but that means there should be some fucking limit. There should be a line in the sand that corporations and people shouldn't cross amongst each other. Right?
All right.
That's civil society. I shouldn't be, if my information you could become a victim of identity theft by joining this fucking Facebook. Well, then I don't want to join, but that warning should be blatantly placed out there for me to decide. Right?
Yeah.
And so there's just so many things that we can all agree on. Even things that we think we're wildly in disagreement about, we're literally not. The middle, when you think and you use your mind, and you look at both sides of the coin, you're going to find that the edge of the coin is always the same for both of you. You both share the fucking edge. Right?
Yep.
I should be a philosopher. What do you think there, Chloe?
Oh, I would buy your book.
Now that is a Tremendous fucking shout out right there. Clue would buy my book. That is fucking awesome. I'm thinking I'm going to write up. Although I'm a shitty typer, a shitty writer, I need a ghost writer is what I would need. Because I don't think I'm capable of doing that, and I don't even know. But here on that note, it seems to me that when it comes to poor Sebastian, people have made a ton of money and done nothing. They've moved the needle nowhere. Matter of fact, they've muddled it to the point where that's all they're doing is muddling the point.
No, and it's very eye-opening when you actually are out there and you're doing shit and you realize some of the information you get, some of the discussions you have, you realize that as much as online you see so much attention being paid to it, which is great, but you see very little effort actually going into it.
Right. All these people that are signing into these shows aren't really putting in any effort or any time to actually look for the kid, right?
Well, and I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's crazy to to see.
How did that billboard stuff? Did that come to an end? You guys were doing billboards?
Yeah, I think those did come to an end, didn't they? Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah. Well, it was a good effort, though, right? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good run, right? They ran for months and in a lot of damn places. So, No,
that's a positive fucking thing. But again, how much shit did you get from that? How many? That's what I mean. These grifters out here. It's like we all know we can make money from each other by lying. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the question is when are you going to question yourself? And if the question is, am I bullshitting these people and putting money in my pocket? If the answer to that question is yeah, then change, right?
Right. That's it. That's it.
That's why I get so stressed out with like I mentioned that guy Jeff H. with his what if he did a U-turn? I literally want to find out where he lives, okay? And smack his fucking face right into his computer table. Come right in from there. Wham! Shut the fuck up with what if he made a U-turn, you fucking moron. And you'd be amazed at how many people jump on that. Well, yeah, how do you know he didn't? How do you know he didn't? It's like, whoa.
No, I don't think when it comes to true crime and shit, there's anything else that could amaze me. I mean, that's what I say. Like being here for like in the reality of a situation with a case that has got a lot of attention, it gives you a completely different perspective on things. 100% it does, because there is a world of fuckery and it's blatantly apparent.
Well, I bet you if I started watching some of these different creators in these shows and started following the fucking stuff they're saying, and these are even professional lawyers, right? I could ridicule and make money just off of pointing out just how unable they are to think.
Yeah.
Right? How they have yet to separate what they believe from what they think, and what they think should have nothing to do with what they believe. There's facts, there's information you could collect to decide whether there's a God or not. Make up your own fucking mind, right?
Yeah.
And then whatever you made up your mind, it's spiritual. You believe there's no God, you believe there is God. That's the end of your belief. Now go on to something else. Don't look at rocket scientists and start believing in it. Don't look at this guy who's told you a fucking story on YouTube and believe the story. Right?
Yeah.
But it's almost as if we've been all completely trained to be opposite of that. And we just accept the nonsense on the internet. It's like, I don't really get it, man.
No, it's entertainment, right? It passes the time. That's what a lot of it is. It passes the time.
Well, that's true, and that's one of the things in America that Americans don't really understand. The amount of freedom that you have in free time. And I think and I won't get into that, but just the amount of things that you have accessible, and yet you're not really choosing to do the right thing with it. Entertainment has its place, but I never was a person. If I like your song, I like your movie, I like your TV show, I didn't need to know your name. I always wondered why the people like Fonzie, I liked the show, I thought he was cool, but I didn't need to know who he was.
Yeah.
I didn't need to know who AC/DC was and the band members. I didn't know. I liked their music. You know what I mean? It's like I like cornflakes. I don't need to know who the fuck made it, who invented it, where it was, who boxed it, who put it in the fucking wrapper, who delivered it to the store. I mean, come on now. It's a box of cereal. That's how I view entertainment. It's just another thing, right? All this fucking useful information we plug our fucking heads with is like, really? I mean, don't you guys want to be able to walk through a fucking doorway and show up in Italy for a vacation? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
All right, well, we could actually do that if we all thought about it. But no. Let's not think about that in a big fucking way. Let's get old Betty to tell us what to think about. Because, that's what most of this entertainment is it's telling you what to think about, and they frame the context, which is exactly what the mainstream media has done to us. Yeah. And we've taken that habit and brought it over to YouTube.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I would love that ability to just step out of my front door and end up somewhere. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure Clue would too, because she always talks about traveling, but she hates the idea of getting on an airplane.
She might need she might need a garage door, but she could do it.
But considering she can't tell Idaho from Connecticut, you could probably just put her in a fucking room with a with a screen surrounding her.
Right, with spaghetti and meatballs on the table. Ah, voila, you're in Italy.
Is Italy a country?
No, it's beside New York. It's the state that borders it. What are you talking about?
Do you guys know that the have you ever heard of the place called Vulcan? How many of you guys in the audience? There's 190. How many have heard of the place Vulcan? And do you remember where you heard that from?
Yeah.
What's Vulcan? Where'd you hear it?
In Star Trek.
In Star Trek. So it's a mythical place, right?
Right.
It's off the coast of fucking Italy, morons. All of you. 5.62 billion of you fucking morons don't even know Vulcan is a real place. You didn't see that coming, did you? You're probably thinking, what the fuck's he brought that up for?
No.
Are you Googling it? Are you people Googling it?
Hold on, I got to correct something real quick. No, babe. Number one, the Eiffel Tower is not in Italy at all.
Not even close.
No, it's not. Number two, no, Italy is not next door to New York.
Where is it? But is it a country?
Yes, it is a country.
So I was right.
Yes.
Well, where's the tower?
In France.
The Leaning Tower of Pisa is what you're thinking about, Clue.
No, she's thinking of the Eiffel Tower. She's just horrible with geography.
You know what's funny? This is a perfect example. Listen, folks. This is important when it comes to belief. Just listen to this. This is proof to you that when I'm telling you that we create our own reality is real. And the proof is Star Trek. So many things in that particular science fiction series have come to life, especially in communications, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most of their technology of rockets and geosynchronous and all the stuff that they talk about is actually real. But there's an example of humanity, somebody coming up with some crazy concept, and then we bring it to reality. That is creating reality. Well, just like with an airplane. An airplane's another expression of reality, and so is the automobile.
Well, I was going to say, look at UFOs, right?
Like
if you go back and consider when UFOs were first talked about and shit like that, and now the amount of shit we've got in the air that we've made, but that people assume to be UFOs, right? And it's I don't know. It's like we try to
call those guns that hit you with electricity.
Rail gun.
No. They use them. The cops use them.
Stun gun. A taser.
The early rendition of the Star Trek phaser.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the miniaturization and the ability to store power in a miniature form is really the next step forward. And that guy, you weren't in here when I said that, but that scientist Wiseman, he's one of the most world-renowned scientists. He says we're on the edge of leaving Einsteinian physics, and a whole new window of the universe is going to open. The next level of physics is going to break us out of where we're stuck.
Wow.
And he thinks, and he says he's very hopeful. And I kind of feel that way too. We're asking questions, but not enough of us are asking the right questions or even the questions that need to be asked. But more and more people are starting to do it, especially with resonance and different things that Tesla was working on. More and more of that is entering the mainstream, and those questions have answers. But you got to ask the question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Stargate SG-1. Is that all of that stuff that you see, folks? Everything that you see, we have created. We created flight, heavier than air flight. Right? And we did that consciously. People wanted to imagine you gotta fucking get a donkey, because I live up in New York, right? And there was that song. I don't know if you ever heard the Erie Canal, 15 miles on the Erie Canal.
No.
And it was a song about the distance a mule would pull the barge. You know, they would be talking about the mule. He's a good old worker. He's a good old pal. 15 miles on the Erie Canal. And that's what they would do a day with the mule, pulling the barge.
Huh.
Somebody was probably sick and fucking tired of that. It was like, there's got to be an easier way to, I mean, and then the more population is developed and the more people start thinking and asking questions, the next thing you know, well, there's a fucking truck. Put the shit in the truck, get rid of the barge. And that's what I mean by our ability to infinitely create things out of just thoughts. And then when enough questions and enough people, that's why population matters. Get onto that fucking, that even the edges of that thinking, that's when we become creators. Right? That doesn't solve where Sebastian Rogers is, but I think either he walked off out of frustration. However, I'm thinking that less and less because there's no contact with anyone anywhere. Right?
Well, I will say this. So yesterday, well, day before yesterday, today's Saturday. So Wednesday Friday. God almighty, Thursday. We go out and we're searching an area that we had sort of searched before, but we were extending off of that a little bit because, apparently there's statistically speaking, people that go missing or kids that go missing will be found within 300 feet of, a roadway. Right. And so we were looking in a couple of spots, and that led us up a hillside, and going up that hillside, you find vertical shafts in limestone. And we weren't necessarily grid searching that area. We were just walking through, and we stumbled across two of them. They were probably 40 feet deep and absolutely big enough for even me to go down in. And it's like, if we stumble across,
I said, that's pretty fun. This applies to Sebastian, or this is an example?
No, this applies to Sebastian because it's literally, it's less than a quarter of a mile from his house. And we stumbled, just randomly roaming through this hilltop, we stumble across two of these, and it got me thinking. I'm like, if we just randomly came across two, imagine how many more are up here, because we're talking 30, 40 acres of hilltop, right? Mm-hmm. And it's then, from what I can gather, that area wasn't heavily searched on foot.
Were they sinkholes? What is the nature of these pits?
It's like, I wouldn't call it a sinkhole, but I guess in a sense it is. It's just where, over the thousands of years or whatever, the water has worked its way through a low spot in the limestone and just eroded a shaft.
Okay. Interesting. And has anybody ever searched them?
Well, I don't know for a fact that they haven't, but from what I can piece together with the information that I got available, they drone searched it, but they didn't foot search it very thoroughly.
Okay. A geological survey may even map them. You may be able to use Google Earth or some form thereof to get the locations. They will be. If you could walk up to something like that, there is a record of that in some public department of government.
Well, and my point is ultimately that, that's area that's very close. That makes, when I see that, I'm like, there got to be more of these. And just because we looked thoroughly at these two doesn't mean that there aren't more up here that could absolutely be, where he is.
Right. And
it's like, I can't rule out that he walked off.
No, I can't. No one can rule. That's the mighty. That's the chaos of this poor case, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't fault. Like I was attacking the Idaho cops, and I don't fault all cops. I don't think people are all Well, I don't know if I say that. I think many people are stupid. Stupid can be fixed. That's the catch-22, right? It takes as much effort to be dumb as it does to be smart. But yeah, until there's some clue, and that's the worst part about all of this. There isn't a single clue, there isn't a sneaker, nothing found that connects us to him.
No, and I think one of the biggest problems is there's so little information from law enforcement that it's on, and people have a hard time hearing. We have nothing, and we haven't heard anything from them in months. And I think that's where a lot of people have a hard time. Is it's like, well, you've got to be lying. There has to be something, And it's like, I mean, I don't know. I can't really say that there has to be something that they have. It could absolutely be that they've got nothing. And
no, I wouldn't be surprised. It's a likely explanation. This is most likely at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, when you get out there and you see kind of the terrain, and you consider what they searched from the air and what they searched from foot based on what we know, it's like, there's absolutely a good possibility that he could be out there and just not have been come across yet.
Right. Well, did you search with Google Earth? Did you look from space down on the area where you found those holes?
We have, yeah, but it's so heavily covered in trees, and
yeah.
that's another thing that makes me, question the effectiveness of an aerial search. Is
that would show up on a thermal, though? I think
it would, but the problem is, even with no leaves, the canopy is still there because of the amount of limbs. Because it's thick wooded area,
so you wouldn't even be able to see the ground. To your point, now, right?
Not very well.
Well, it's tough. Nothing's easy. But isn't it amazing? Just think of that, right? I asked the question. You could use a thermal camera. I mean, just go back 50 years. Where was that question then? Right? I mean, the fact that we have that available, maybe not on a scale we would like, but that it exists, is just awesome.
Oh, we do have it available, and it is on a scale that, I mean, I've got one. I've got a thermal drone, right? There's another guy with two people with us have thermal drones. And I mean, they're, consumer grade drones.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, and I think anybody should have, there's to me, to earn an income, to earn a way to support and survive. I don't object to that at all. I just honestly think that a lot of these people should have on their stream, like it says right there, more like entertainment or crime. I think that the streams that are going to focus on that aspect of it should blatantly put that across the top of their screen. That this is for entertainment purposes, and if any of it connects to real life, it's a coincidence or luck, right?
Well, but it goes back to the whole, the root of the problem is not necessarily the creator as much as the viewer. Right.
The viewer, right. But that's what I mean. The creator though can help get the viewer to understand.
Yeah, no, I agree.
We're doing here, right?
I agree.
If you're gonna talk about facts, and like I come and I talk about the Idaho4, I stick to the information that they've given me that so far Ann has shown to be bullshit, but they're arguing exactly that PCA in the courts. There's no new evidence. I don't see anything coming forward that's she's asking to suppress a witness or anything, right? She wants Frank's hearing because these cops have been lying since the inception of this accusation.
Yeah.
Right? The car's an 11 to 13. Therefore, you accuse the guy that owns a 15 that you picked up on a camera or phone that night. But that just shouldn't have been enough to arrest this guy.
Yeah.
Show me in the 11 to 13. They did say person or persons in the 11 to 13, right?
Right.
So that does leave the possibility Kohlberger was in that car. But now show me the evidence to make that connection.
Right.
In other words, right, Dylan made the car relevant with her story, the times of her story, the times of the TikTok, the times of the DoorDash, the times of the car peeling away. All of these times are established. That car fits that time perfectly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we can make the logical assumption that those two connect, her story, that crime, and that car. But once you knew it wasn't a 15, and you knew that right from the beginning, you had no business arresting or charging this guy. People say there's a witness, there's a tip. Well, that tip better be able to place those two cars adjacent to each other or they got better be able to place Brian Koberger entering a car, the 11 to 13, which then would mean that he either entered an empty car himself or he got into a vehicle with other people or another person. And there's never any talk or any argument about that. There's no motions filed against anything like that. So, yeah, it's very difficult. That's why I can't watch a lot of the streams, because they're all talking about, who's that? That not Butthole Betty. Who's that crazy girl out here?
That doesn't narrow it down very much.
She was mentioned earlier. She's like Tommy Jude's sister there.
Oh, strange suspicion.
That one, and then there's a bunch of them out there, man.
Yeah.
Like the other night, I don't know if you were in here. Were you in here when that person was from Rory's show?
Mm-mm.
And
No.
the person from Rory's show came in and they were trying to invite me on Rory's show. I'm like, Rory's show? I ain't going on there. He knows me. He knows me well. I was part of that stream. I said he puts people like Tommy Jude up there. I said, fuck, I wouldn't go on any show associated with that. Not only that, I said he was supposed to contact me when he was coming back onto the internet. Yeah, Bubbly Waters or whatever.
Bubbly Waters. Oh, yeah.
I said, and the guy's had all of these months he's been back online. He's never even made an effort to say hello. And in our last conversation, it was on good terms. You know, if you're going to come back out, you're going to do your stream. You know, get a hold of me. Let me know. I'll go up there with you. And then he comes back and everybody that was there, he approached except me, which was fine. I don't have a problem with that. But then when your people come in here and you're going to invite me to go to your show, I don't know. It's fucking crazy, Cletus.
Yeah, it's something.
It's a crazy fucking world. In any event, this is long. I'm starting to get spaghetti sweats. Damn, that shit was good. Oh, and were you in here when I was complaining about Amazon Prime?
No, I didn't catch that.
I ranted on that for a little while, and then I talked myself into understanding I was wrong, and I paid for Amazon Prime today. Oh, I'm so fucked up. I mean, I entertain myself just by being me. It's fucking crazy. That's why I work 2 hours a day and I nap every day. I don't nap because I'm exhausted. And then I have dreams. I mean, it's like, leave me alone. Somebody take my head with him, would you? Leave me the fuck alone.
Oh, fuck.
Holy fuck. Like, I came up with that. That was a good joke in the opening. I thought that was awesome, bro. Oh, that brother and sister comment killed it.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a good one, right?
That was a good one.
I forget where I heard that. I actually kind of chopped it up a little bit, but I heard something to that effect somewhere. And the way I replayed it in my mind, the way I replayed it in my mind just included YouTube for the fun of it. Oh, the drunk turkey. Let's talk about the drunk turkey. That guy, there's a guy that thinking is an allergy for that motherfucker. I mean, holy fuck. Somebody get him some Benadryl before he starts a show. The mainstream media, I didn't know they did it to him twice, but that's even worse than once. I knew they humiliated him once. You were aware of that too, right?
Yeah. When did they do it a second time?
I don't know. Before the second time. So I don't even know. What do you say? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right?
Mm.
They not only did they fucking shame this guy and humiliate him and the fat guy that's on the show there.
Yeah.
I don't know his name.
Big Blue.
Yeah. Right? But they went back for more. I mean, that'd be like me saying that the fucking pork I cooked got me sick as a motherfucker, but I ordered more.
Yeah.
Good idea. I'm sure it'll be fine the second time. Eat more of that poison pork. Anyway, who is it? I think Heather may have had him. I don't know if you know Heather Fitzgerald has got a stream, but it's
I didn't know she had a stream.
Yeah. But it's more like information videos where she collects all the information in the order that it was given.
Oh, yeah, I did hear you talking about that.
Yeah. It's pretty good. Right? Yeah, so that fucking drunk turkey guy. I also went in the Gunner show. The guy that quit drinking but never did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in there busting his balls. It's like, how can you forgive me? You're the guy who admitted you'll never question, and here you are questioning me again. Must be that booze, brother. But the drunk turkey, but here's the worst part for him. Okay. If you can connect Brian based on the PCA, if there's a connection between those two cars, or if you could show that the FBI agent was wrong, if you could show me that, I'll happily accept that. I have no objection to that at all. I don't think he did it. I don't think he didn't do it. I don't fucking know. So I'm open. But until you can show me something to contradict exactly what we see, then I'm going with this kid shouldn't even be in jail. He didn't even do that. They browbeat and humiliated the guy to the point where he actually took up their narrative. Not because they showed him evidence to counter what he was trying to say on the show. They didn't counter what he was saying. They just kind of made fun of him. So that when he left, he went from being the Kohlberger didn't do it to the Kohlberger did do it. Complete 180-degree change.
Well,
fucking shocking.
Maybe he felt the money was better on that side of the fence.
And here's a guy that twice they humiliated him. And what does he do? He becomes them, waiting for more humiliation because they'll invite him back.
Yeah,
it's only a matter of time, right? They scored on him twice. They showed how ignorant the YouTube creators are, and he was one example, but there's so many of them out there. Yeah. I think they did that too when he did that Paramount stuff. That guy Rory,
yeah,
he did that Paramount thing.
Yeah.
Who the fuck would want something? WSU mom. Shut the. Holy. Look, I wouldn't take a shit on her face if she begged me. Unfucking believable.
Fuck. Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's like, why would you put her on a TV series? What the fuck are you doing? Right? And when they did put me on, the little bit they had me on there was me going after that fucking stupid broad.
Well, you were going after Dot.
That's it. Going right after that fucking broad.
Yeah.
I was the only one on that whole fucking stream that they should have actually listened to. They should have put me on the fucking thing to show that there's not all of us around here fuck got our heads up our ass. Mine's up there sometimes. It's usually when I'm napping. Otherwise, no. Yeah, that fucking Dot. I forgot her name. Unbelievable. And it was on Rory's stream. I took her apart big time. They showed a couple of words that I said, but I trashed her to show that she was lying. She contradicted herself, told different stories. She went from seeing him from a porch, a second-story balcony, to being on the fucking ground smoking weed with him.
Well, in fairness to them, they did go, if I'm not mistaken, they moved from you trashing her to it being like her cam slip or something showing that she was just nothing but a fucking liar. So, in fairness, they did take you as the build-up to the, the bomb drop on it. As part
for
of
all of these idiots out there giving this person airtime and running with it and arguing on her behalf. And there was people out there raising money because she felt threatened.
Yeah.
That's what I said earlier. LGBTQ plus. Does plus mean you're a premium gay person? What the fuck is that plus? I don't understand, bro. I just don't get it anymore. I mean, you wear a cape? What the fuck does the plus mean? Anybody? Someone fucking help me with this.
You're a fucking idiot.
Well, come on. It's a good fucking question. The fuck is that plus for you? What can you do that the others can't do? Are you better? Are you in charge? What the fuck is it? Anyhow, yeah.
Oh, fuck. Wow.
That's something you're not going to forget anytime soon, all right? You're all fucked up with that comment because now every time you hear it, you're going to be like, excuse me, right? I want to be at a press conference and hear someone pardon me, but what the fuck does the plus mean? Are they better than me? Are they super gay or what? What the fuck does that mean?
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Maybe they're more than gay. Maybe there's something beyond gay. They haven't shared it with us yet. I don't know. I want to know. a Paramount Plus. To me, that means that they've got TV shows plus more, maybe movies, right? That goes together. But what the fuck does it mean when you attach it to LGBTQ?
He said to you, what does that mean? You wear a fucking cape?
The fuck is it, bro? It's gotta be something. Oh my god.
Oh fuck. Let me compose myself a little
Some
bit.
things
Jesus.
shouldn't be abbreviated, okay? Heidi is probably telling the truth. There's just more classification. Well, look, it don't cut it with me. Then give me all the classifications so we can have a conversation about all of it. Don't just let me wonder. Right?
Yeah, no, it's fair. That's fair.
What the fuck, mom? What the fuck, mom? Kim, WSU Kim or WSU, whatever the fuck that woman's name is. It's funny. She never provided one bit of fucking supportive information. Like, she's still got people out there claiming kids knew at 10 o'clock these murders took place.
Mm-hmm.
There's no evidence of that other than her fucking spreading that rumor. And there's people out here that just, this was a frat hit. Where's the evidence?
Well, I thought Fat Bastard claimed that he had seen it.
No.
Oh.
No. She never provided it.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Right? And the other thing, too, is the biggest scammer of all is when they make the story about themselves. Now, I do give information related to moments in my life, like with crime or whatever, but, you know, I'm not out here fucking crying up a fucking storm. Believe me. I don't give a fuck what you believe. Unless it's information. Go believe in God. My wife will scold me for working up the kids. My laugh is loud. Poor guy. I'm going to have to, now I got a new mission in life. What is the plus? Heidi's giving me something to go look for. Pansexual, asexual, it's all kinds of other stuff. It's things that are useless information, okay? The only question is, do you suck dick or not? That's it. That's all. You're either in the yes column, the no column, the maybe column, or the hopeful column. You're somewhere in there, right? That's fine. But do I need to know that about you? No. It just isn't required information for me to engage in a fucking transaction. Like, I want to buy pancakes. I want to go to fucking get eggs and bacon. You don't need to advertise what the fuck you are and then play a guessing game with me and I get it wrong and now I'm in trouble. What the fuck is that all about? I go by they, them. I don't give a fuck who you go by. Where are my eggs? Right? It's just baffling to me how fucking stupid we've all become. And, I shouldn't even be talking about it. It doesn't help get rid of it all. But you know who's going to really trash on all of that?
Who?
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He lost a child to that. Between him losing a child and then him seeing Trump get shot and stand up and yell, fight, fight, fight. Those are two massive moments in this guy's life, even more massive than all of the money he's made. Both of them were in the heart. The first one was he lost his child to this fucking transgenderism shit. I don't know. A lot of people don't know that. And he only says he has 11 kids, not 12. The other thing that caught him in the heart was he saw something in Trump that he'd never seen before. Elon is commitment oriented. Elon sets out with a task and it becomes a heartfelt task. He feels commitment as deeply as people feel love. So when he sets out to do something, and even if he fails, it doesn't discourage him from doing it again. It's just like he's had so many different wives and girlfriends, okay? So when he saw Trump jump up and scream, fight, 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 with blood coming down his face after a bullet went by him, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a point in Elon where he looked at Trump and an equalness to him. In other words, he understood at that moment in time, and I did too, that this guy is actually got something he wants to do, and he's going to give it all he's got to get it done. That Elon respects more than anything. And the fact that he's so anti-woke and so anti the sex change shit with young kids,
yeah,
more so than anybody I've ever heard talk about it, because he's lost a child to it. And that's what I think brought those two moments in his life were pivotal. And I think that's why you see him. And the other thing, too, I did write a thread up on Twitter about this. The other reason you see him hanging around Trump so much and why you would see him at all of those rallies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is because Elon has moved humanity forward. If you get right down to what he's done, right from PayPal on up, he created an alternative to a credit card, right? A debit card. He created a one-click method to purchase information or products off the internet. He then went into the electric cars and the solar panels and the green energy and then into the rockets. And he's advanced humanity, but he's never got any adulation for that. And here's this fucking goofball that can't comb his fucking orange hair in any way that makes any fucking sense at all, right? And millions of people are jumping up and down and running around with a red hat he told them to wear. And what has Trump done? He's built hotels. How's that moved humanity forward? It hasn't. It's just another room, okay? It's just walls, no matter how pretty you make, right? So here's Elon, all his life. I don't think he craved adulation, but I think that he did see it in a negative light, that adulation should be given to those that actually deserve it. And he is one of those people that do deserve it. If you look at facts, he's done so much to move humanity forward. And that's why you would see him, and you still see him hanging around with Trump, and you saw him at all of those rallies, and people were cheering and screaming for him. I honestly think that that was something he never expected he was going to get, but secretly thought that he deserved it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so he's living vicariously through Trump.
Well, no, he never lived vicariously through Trump. He used to see Trump in a negative light, that was Trump's motive, never realizing until Trump was shot that there was more to Trump than the motive of adulation. You see?
Yeah.
And then when he approached Trump and was put in front of one of Trump's audiences, he got all the adulation from that audience.
Right.
Right. Something that now he shares with Trump.
Yeah.
But according to the way Elon views the world, if you look at his life, it's based on a commitment to accomplish a task or a goal that will benefit. It'll provide a benefit to people. That's everything he's ever done when you look at it. And so that's why I think he's so close to Trump now. And I could see Trump gets a little stressed sometimes, because he did make a comment. I don't know if you know this. He said, Elon's ever since I invited him to Mar-a-Lago, he hasn't left. He said, I think I'm going to have to get to stop liking him to get him to leave. Right. I mean, there's a dinner with an important person. Elon's at the table.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for us, and I think it's good for someone like Elon, because very rarely the great men that do great things get celebrated while they're alive. Usually it's only after they're dead that people look back and celebrate what these people did. And in America, we've gone a step further. We ignore the greatness and we just try to find, that guy used to own slaves. Well, yeah, but he freed. No, it doesn't matter. He's no good. Fuck him. Take his statue down. We've gone to the other end of it, but
I agree with what he's saying, and I think you guys should start celebrating me while I'm here.
Boy, oh boy. That could be a difficult task. Yeah, I think some great people should have that adulation while they're alive, because this is our era. This is our moment in history. And there are some people amongst us that have done great things. And then there's many more of us that take advantage of these great things and do the wrong things with them, right?
Yeah.
There's more of us than them, yet these great men still come forward and do these things. So I didn't have the heart to click on the article, someone said. Anyway, Cletus, what is new with you two? Is there a date? I mean, this wedding was supposed to be, ever since I've met you, known you, talked to you. What's going on, Clue?
I'm waiting on my adulation.
Now you need adulation. Adulation. Is it adulation or adulation?
I don't know. I haven't had a chance to look that fucking word up yet.
Me either.
Well, Clue should know. She could look it up quick. What is it? I think it's adulation, not ag. Although agitation would probably fit when describing me.
Adulation plus.
Or fucking drunk turkey. That was an interesting little fucking synopsis.
It's adulation. A-D.
A-D.
A-D-U-L-A-T-I-O-N.
And that's what I've been saying, adulation.
Excessive admiration or praise.
Yeah, and you put in adulation.
Whatever.
I learned you something. You're welcome.
It's your stupid accent.
My accent. No one speaks English as clearly as I do.
Oh, yeah.
All right, come on. That's one thing for sure. You'll never be around me and not hear something you've never heard before. Or you'll say something to get corrected and find out I'm right, and you'll get an attitude against me, which is perfectly okay with me. Adulation. It's my accent that's a problem. Well, I didn't fucking tell you to spell the word that way, so there you go.
Sarge appreciates the opposite of adulation.
Oh, you're right. Look at love and hate are such close in emotion and commitment that I win no matter what you do.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Fuck, the more you hate me, the more I love it. The more you love me, the more I love it. I mean, there's just no way to lose. I'm in your head.
I feel that.
See? What else have we got? You got any good jokes, Clue?
No.
No. Any new crimes?
Oh,
I
do. What did one muffin say to the other muffin?
I don't know.
Damn, it's hot in here. And then the other muffin said, holy shit, a talking muffin.
Where the fuck did you see that in a video?
No, my dad told me that years ago.
Oh. A husband and wife who was always right. According to, well, Cletus lives in that environment. I won't say in what form, but yeah.
What are you talking about?
How have your Amazon purchases been going lately? Have you gotten, I know the microphone, the chair, the has that bicycle done anything for you? The one under the desk? Or is that a forgotten?
Yes, it has actually eliminated the other areas that I have to dust because it collects a lot.
Oh, so it's become.
I think her favorite thing she's purchased on Amazon in a while is the electric mouse traps.
Oh, yeah. You got to get you some of those, Sarge.
I got to get mice then.
Oh, well, lucky you. We have 800 chickens, so mouses are just.
Oh, yeah. You got a farm kind of. How do they work, man?
Cool though, man. The mouses go in there.
Mice.
Okay, you put a little peanut butter in there, and the mouses run in, and you can hear it. It's like zzz. It's like
it electrocutes them.
Oh yeah, it's like one of the. It is probably the most fucking.
I'm gonna give a warning to the viewers of the show. My warning to you is if you ever visit Cletus and Clue, do not look in their dresser drawers. Okay, there's gonna be some fucking scary shit in there. This woman's electrocuting mice and having fun doing it. I didn't want to know more. That's enough. I've heard all I need to hear about Clue. That's crazy.
It's awesome.
Look at that. Holy poor Cletus.
We were sitting on the computer the other night, and like all of a sudden we just start hearing this zzz, and we're like, what the fuck is that? And he realizes, he's like, oh, I think it might be this mouse trap beside of me. Man, it cooked that mouse for like 3 minutes. We were like, damn, you could smell the hair.
That's just awesome, man. Why don't you just get that bucket? They climb up a little ramp, and the minute they go for the peanut butter on the top of the bucket, and the lid opens, and they drop into the bucket, and it automatically closes. They can't get out.
Yeah, I'm gonna get one to put in the chicken house.
Yeah, you put water in there, and they drown.
You know what? You make fun of me, but let me tell you, my whole electrocution thing is better than what fiance here was doing to him. He started feeding them a mixture of Jiffy corn mix and baking soda because mouses can't fart or burp, so they pretty much just explode inside.
Did you find any exploded bodies?
No.
Oh, then you don't know that they explode. That's just a myth at this point.
Well, I can tell you that, from the the massive decline in the population in the chicken house, it worked pretty fucking well.
Oh, it did. Oh.
It blew.
Well, that bucket one is good too. But again, you either got to drown them, and you can't leave them in there for too long. It'll stink like a motherfucker, I think. But have you seen the mouse trap? That's a 5-gallon pail.
Yeah.
And you can either put a round rod across it because it's like those people on that show I watch where they like go on the big red balls.
Yeah, the wipeout.
Yeah, they can't like stay on top of the rolling thing.
Yeah.
Here's a project for you. Okay. You get a metal 5-gallon bucket with the plastic lid, right? And down below in the bottom of the bucket, put toaster elements. Right? So that way, listen, that way, once they drop in and get cooked, it'll eject them. Bing! And there you go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, he's laughing, but that could be like a free way to feed the chickens. I'm just saying.
There you go. They'd be cooked too.
I mean, I've seen the chickens go after them, and that is fucking brutal.
Is it?
Oh my God.
Heather and Heidi are losing their minds for the spontaneous way we're coming up to kill mice. Unbelievable.
I mean, I can literally ship them to their houses if they want them.
Listen, I remember going to my neighbor's garage and hunting mice with BB guns. Yeah. And most times one shot wouldn't kill them. Might stun them or freeze them in place. It might cause their back legs not to work, but
I got a fucking snake down there in the chicken house that I think he's probably going to be like a record-setting fucking size if the mouse problem stays around, because I've seen him. I think I've seen him twice this year, and the son of a bitch doubled in size.
You better watch out. He gets big enough to take you two on.
He might.
What kind of a snake is it?
A copperhead.
Oh, no, that'll have its limits. You got to go down to Florida and get you one of them swamp snakes that cross over. Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
There's an image, there's a video of a guy recorded in Florida of a 12-foot alligator pulling a snake that's got to be fucking 40 feet long.
I saw that.
Holy fuck. What do? You wake up and that guy's sitting out by your front door. Hell no.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. A lot of you guys down there, you live in areas that have tornadoes, hurricanes, crazy fucking animals that'll kill you, insects, snakes that'll kill you. I don't, fuck that. I'll take a little bit of snow.
Bro, a little bit of snow?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a dusting up here. I have almost no snow here. Yeah.
It's December.
Yeah, but they just got whacked in Erie, and Ohio got whacked. Buffalo got whacked. Places over by Oswego got whacked. Syracuse, not me. Went under us. It's because, again, no one's asked for my consent to accumulate snow here. So for the while, we're pretty safe. But if asked, I will give consent for snow to fall. So, the Mother Nature just needs my phone number. That's all. But no, we've avoided snow. I think the last time we had any real snow was like a tough winter was before 2010.
Shit, here winter has become or December has become a tornado month. The past 2 years. Last year it was December 10th. Year before last it was December 11th.
Yep.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fucking crazy.
Never had a tornado, hurricanes, none of that crazy shit. We've had storms where the winds have gusted up over 80 miles an hour. That's happened. So, but I don't know. Maybe that's equal to a hurricane of some kind, but we don't call them hurricanes, and they're very, very rare.
Yeah.
But some of the weather around the country and some of the animals. I mean, I don't know. I remember when the only time I was in Florida as a kid, I was only about 7 or 8 years old, and it sounded like bullfrogs out behind the trailer park my grandmother lived in. Go figure. And she said those were alligators or whatever, crocodiles, whatever the fuck you call them.
Oh yeah, they make like
yeah. They sound like bullfrogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know how to call alligators.
Oh, that's a hell of a nice thing. What the hell would you want to do that? Call them for what? Dinner?
I've never thought about that, but I don't know.
See, this guy said his bro lives near Erie, got 3 feet of snow. I did hook my snowplow up. I've had it for 2 years. I got the snowplow and I got the new truck. I brought it home, set it down, and never had to put it on. So then they were calling for all this particular snow in my region. I was like, at the very least, I should make sure it still works, right, in case it does snow. And I mounted that bitch up, and works perfect. Parked the truck, and there it sits. Facing outward, ready to push snow, but there isn't any snow. So,
who the fuck has a snowplow?
This
I ain't fucking snow shoveling a driveway. Thing's 152 feet long. Fuck's gonna shovel that? That's insanity. You know, most driveways are what, 20, 30 feet, 40 at best. This thing's like a road. Fuck no. Snowblower, no. Every time I use a snowblower, the wind always caught me with the fucking snow blowing the wrong way and I get buried in snow. Fuck that. So, yeah. And then luckily it hasn't snowed for many years to any point where you even need I quit a snow plowing business because there was never any snow.
That's better than the response I thought he was going to give.
Oh, no, I just felt like I was robbing people. I couldn't keep doing it.
Oh, no, I just figured you said the last time you used a snowblower, I thought you were going to say she asked for breakfast.
Oh, no, that's an awful lengthy stay. And yeah, and then you got to start refunding me that money I gave you. If I'm going to feed you too. Fuck out of here. That's fucking crazy.
Fucking $3 bag of chips.
The fuck with oh no, I bought a case of them fucking things, man. I got tired of the corner store robbing the snot out of me. And because the potato chip election turned out the way potato chip election should have turned out, I bought a case of potato chips.
Well, there you go.
Those 1 ounce serving bags, which are probably not, but anyway, yeah. So at night I eat a bag of chips. I think 38 or some crazy amount of them came in this box. It's like
with grape soda.
No, the grape soda is $20 a 12 pack. I ain't paying $20 for grape soda. God, it was $5.99 or something before. Now
what kind of fucking grape soda is that?
Welch's or Fanta or I don't know.
You can talk the shit about all the shit you want to about our wildlife and our weather, but our fucking prices aren't that fucking high.
I'm about to look right now. Hold
Go
on.
look on Amazon. It's
well, you're buying it on
buying
Amazon. That's why.
No, it's more expensive in the store. It's at least $12.99 a 12 pack.
You got to get Walmart Plus.
Bro, I can get a 12 pack of what is it? What do you say? Fanta, some shit.
Fanta.
Yeah, how much?
I can get Crush for $4.99.
What do you mean?
A 12 pack.
Yeah.
Crush.
Great, because I buy the Crush on Amazon.
No, on Instacart. It comes from the Kroger.
Oh.
Okay. She could buy it and ship it to you for less than what you're paying.
Look. I looked at my local two chain grocery stores, and I also looked at Walmart, and none of them were ever anywhere near Walmart or Amazon's price.
$4.99, 12 pack of crushed grape soda.
I was paying like $5.89 for a 12 pack, and that's the soda I drink. That Crush, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yep. I got orange left, a couple of 12 packs of orange, so I'm good for a little while, a couple of weeks. Yeah, and even coffee's gone through the roof. It's fucking insane. Yeah, I'm in New York State. Everything up here is crazy.
Let me see.
Insane.
Orange soda.
How much is butter up there? How much is a pound of butter where you are?
A pound of butter?
You know, the 4-quarter sticks is a pound, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
It depends on the brand, but you're looking at $4.
Yeah, so it's same as up here. Okay.
$3.99.
Goes from $4 to $10 depending on the brand around here.
$10 for some butter. You better learn to use spit.
You can't spit on your toast, nut job.
Try me. All you need is a little bit of wet.
Man, you got to videotape that mousetrap.
Oh, yeah. Set a camera up.
You don't see anything. You just hear it.
Well, maybe you should make one that's clear.
And here's what you should do. Listen. Get 5 or 6 small novelty angels, right? And put them on a stick. And as it's being electrocuted, those angels start to light up.
That's some sadistic shit right there.
What the fuck? See, mouse heaven. Mommy, what happened to the mother? Going to heaven. Look at the angels. Now, who is 12? Is that that's not 12 gauge, is it?
I don't know. Where are they at?
I think he's been eluding me because he's. I was in a show today and all these theorists in there about how Brian did it and how they're examining Brian's mental fucking this or that, and Brian's was fat and he's skinny and his drug. They're evaluating the guy's psychological profile, and not a one of them have seen him personally or ever talked to him.
Oh,
but they know all about him, and that's why he's the committer of the crime, and he's a copycat of Ted Bundy, and he's damn. I was like, yeah, mine hanging out in here.
So I ain't hanging out in here.
I'm fucking crazy, man. Like I said, just show me that the car that they claim in that PCA is Koberger's car. Just show me that. And then everything else seems to fall right in place. But we know they can't. We know they haven't been able to. We know by Ann's motions that it's not true. And until you get past that, I don't even want to hear about the end. I don't give a fuck if he maybe he was the guy urinating on fucking Ethan, according to Tommy Jude. Remember in that reflection that he had from the cloud off the moon?
Yeah.
Bounced off a roof shingle that was black as ice. And yeah, there you go. There's a clear image of people peeing on the guy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All without accusing the guy of being the plus in the LGBTQ. Maybe that's part of the plus. You get urinated on. I don't know.
Yeah, fuck.
What the fuck is that all about? Oh man, fucking people. I mean, you kind of laugh, but it's really sad that such an amazing. It's like taking a nuclear weapon and driving nails with it. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? Right? Unbelievable. Do you drive nails with your fucking phones, ladies and gentlemen? No. That's another product that went too fucking far. It should just be what it is, a phone. Messages, videos, everybody's fucking crazy narcissist taking fucking pictures. He wants selfies with everybody. Unfucking believable. I don't know. It's insane to me. I mean, we used to laugh. You're old enough to remember the Japanese when they would come here and they'd have all them Instamatic, those throwaway Kodak cameras they'd get.
Mm-hmm.
They'd walk around all of our cities taking pictures.
Yeah. I
often wondered if they weren't all spying on us to set up some kind of military engagement. I don't know what the fuck those Japs were doing with all them cameras. But, you know, enough time has gone by. Apparently it was just recreation, but it could have been nefarious. They were everywhere with them fucking things. Oh, my God. It's insanity, bro. All right. Well, it's been a wonderful evening. I'm glad you guys came in.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. And yeah, it's an adulation. Anytime you want to heap that my way, Clue, here I am. So, you know, it is what it is.
I'll get right on it.
Well, there you go. You know how to contact me. Heather, good to see it, Heather. All the blue people out here, all the blue wrenches. The Blue Wrench Army. That's what we call them in here. We don't call them roosters. Yikes. But, all right, folks. It's been a fun fucking 3.5 hours, for fuck's sake.
3 hours and 43 minutes.
42 minutes and 30 seconds. Come correct. Facts. Just the facts.
Just the facts. Just the facts.